Chapter 2059. You're about to lose your life, yet you're still thinking about the Xian immortal law. The pill puppet was expressionless. After devouring demonic snake immortal's Xian immortal law, he immediately rushed out. At the same time, a powerful devouring power emerged from his body and attacked demonic snake immortal. Jinhua, why aren't you coming over to help? Demonic snake immortal wasn't stupid. He wouldn't fight pill puppet by himself. Seeing that the purple-robed pill puppet's devouring power was about to reach him, the demonic snake immortal immediately shouted at Jinhua, "Ningyu doesn't just want me dead. If I die, you won't have an easy time either." Damn it. Jinhua's face was gloomy. How could he not know that demonic snake immortal was right? However, even if he went over to help demonic snake immortal would definitely be killed. Rather than foolishly helping demonic snake immortal, he might as well try to persuade Zhao Rui to contact Ningyu through her and finally get Ningyu to let him go. No matter how he looked at it, the second method was much better than the first. Jinhua, even if I die, I won't. Uft. Demonic snake immortal said coldly when he saw Jinhua hesitating. However, demonic snake immortal's voice came to an abrupt halt halfway through his sentence. Dark red blood spurted out of demonic snake immortal's mouth. At the same time, his body quickly shriveled up. Ding! Not long after, demonic snake immortal turned into a piece of skin. The walking stick in his hand fell heavily on the ground, making a crisp sound. There's still one more. Ningyu shrugged at Jinhua and gestured for Pill Puppet to act quickly. In order to get Pill Puppet to help him, Ningyu directly took out the Origin Creation Divine Staff and Xian Immortal Law and let them get close to the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Ningyu's intention was clear. As long as Pill Puppet didn't kill Jinhua, he would use Xian Immortal Law to destroy the Origin Creation Divine Staff. All right. Although Pill Puppet was furious, he had to do as he was told. At this moment, the purple-robed Dan Puppet hated the person who told Ningyu. The purple-robed Pill Puppet knew very well that when Immortal Essence Creation gave the Essence Creation Divine Staff to Ningyu, he would never tell Ningyu that he was just a pawn. Immortal Origin Creation hadn't told him, but Ningyu knew. Then there were only two possibilities. First, Ningyu had guessed it, which was less likely. Secondly, someone told Ningyu. This possibility was extremely high. Zhao Rui, save me. Seeing the purple-robed Pill Puppet charge at him, Jinhua's expression changed greatly as he hurriedly shouted at Zhao Rui. Zhao Rui looked at Jinhua, then looked at Ningyu, and then chose to remain silent. It was unwise to offend Ningyu for Jinhua. Moreover, what Zhao Rui needed to do now was not to help Jinhua, but how to protect herself. What the hell is going on? Zhao Rui turned around and looked at Ningyu. Ningyu did not answer Zhao Rui. Instead, he asked, "When we reach the end of the path to heaven, are you confident that you can leave? In other words, you will be able to avoid the experts of the middle-sized dominions." "I'm 50% sure." Although she didn't know why Ningyu asked, Zhao Rui still answered honestly. "I am 100% confident that I can leave." Ningyu smiled bitterly. He had a bitter expression on his face. He was not only excited about leaving the path to heaven safely, but also sad about being chosen as a pawn by Immortal Essence Creation. There was no free lunch in the world. To be honest, when Immortal Essence Creation helped Ningyu, Ningyu had already vaguely guessed something. It was just that Ningyu had obtained the Essence Creation Divine Staff from his mother, Mu Yunshan. Ningyu guessed that Immortal Essence Creation was related to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, but he did not think in that direction. After Ningyu devoured Immortal Blood Poison's clone, Ningyu became more and more worried. It was only when the purple-robed Pill Puppet appeared that Ningyu was completely sure of his guess. 100% confident, Zhao Rui's mouth opened slightly in shock. At the end of the path to heaven, there might even be a half-step profound immortal or a true profound immortal expert. Zhao Rui was very puzzled when Ningyu said that he was 100% confident that he could leave. Uft! At that moment, the sound of blood spurting came from afar. It was obvious that the purple-robed pill puppet had finished off Jinhua and devoured him. Can you give me the Essence Creation Divine Staff now? The purple-robed pill puppet's figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Ningyu. If you keep your promise, I will let you live. Otherwise, I will kill. Whoosh! The purple-robed pill puppet's indifferent words suddenly came to a halt. There was no other reason. In an area far away, the void suddenly split open and a group of martial artists appeared. These martial artists were all late-stage heaven immortals. The white-robed martial artist who led the group was a peak late-stage heaven immortal. He had more points than Fiend Snake Immortal and Jinhua. Crack! Suddenly, the void on the other side also split open, and 3 martial artists slowly walked out of the void. These 3 martial artists were similar to the white-robed martial artist, peak late-stage heaven immortal. Boom! At the same time, the void not far from Ningyu's group also exploded, and a martial artist wearing a bamboo hat appeared. Although the bamboo hat martial artist was also a peak late-stage heaven immortal, Ningyu and the others could feel that the bamboo hat martial artist was only slightly weaker than the purple-robed pill puppet. In other words, the purple-robed pill puppet couldn't kill the bamboo hat martial artist in a short time. In fact, if the bamboo hat martial artist had other trump cards, the purple-robed pill puppet might lose. Whoosh! 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 The entire area instantly became lively after these 3 groups of people appeared. In the next few minutes, a martial artist would appear almost every second. The cultivation level of these martial artists wasn't weak. The weakest among them was at the late heaven immortal realm. There were even a few martial artists who were the same cultivation as the purple-robed pill puppet peak heaven immortal. Damn it! The sudden appearance of so many martial artists made the purple-robed pill puppet's face darken to the extreme. He was just about to get the origin creating divine staff when something unexpected happened. The purple-robed pill puppet could tell that most of the martial artists who appeared should know that Ningyu was a pawn of the origin creating immortal. Since they knew that Ningyu was a pawn, they would try to snatch the origin creating divine staff. Although the purple-robed pill puppet was very powerful, he still knew his limits. He knew that he couldn't snatch the origin creating divine staff with his current strength. Even if Ningyu gave him the origin creating divine staff, he wouldn't be able to protect it. Instead of that, he might as well let Ningyu hold the origin creating divine staff and wait until they entered the path to heaven. I'll leave the origin creating divine staff with you for now. With that thought, the purple-robed pill puppet sent a soul message to Ningyu. When we enter the path to heaven, I'll find a way to contact you. Give me the origin creating divine staff then. You want to contact me through this thing that the Dark Emperor has, right? Ningyu flicked his wrist and took out a fingernail-sized crystal ball from his storage ring. Chapter 2060. How could it be in your hands? Looking at the crystal ball in Ningyu's hand, the elixir puppet's pupils constricted and his face was full of horror. Before Ningyu took out the crystal ball, the purple-robed elixir puppet could still appear calm. However, after Ningyu took out the crystal ball, the purple-robed elixir puppet lost his composure. Without the crystal ball, the elixir puppet couldn't know where the Dark Emperor was. If he didn't know where the Dark Emperor was, it meant that he didn't know where Ningyu was. How vast was the path to heaven? Once he lost Ningyu's location, it would be even more difficult to find Ningyu. Nothing is impossible. Ningyu shrugged and said, "Since you don't want the origin divine staff now, I won't give it to you. But I still want to thank you for killing Devil Snake Immortal and Jinhua for me." Crack, crack, crack. Hearing Ningyu's words and seeing Ningyu's expression, the elixir puppet gnashed his teeth in anger. However, even though he was angry, he still didn't act rashly. because he knew very well that he could no longer be called the absolute overlord in this area. According to the elixir puppet's observation, there were at least 3 or 4 auras around him that he was afraid of. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the void cracked again, and a martial artist who was the same age as Ningyu appeared from the void. Hiss! When the young cultivator appeared, everyone in front of the path to heaven sucked in a breath of cold air. Strong! Very strong. He was extremely strong. Although the young martial artist cultivation was the same as the elixir puppets, they were both at the peak of heaven immortal. But relatively speaking, 2 elixir puppets might not be a match for this young martial artist. People from the Wuheng cave. Seeing the young martial artist, Zhao Rui's face turned slightly serious, and she said in a deep voice, "I didn't expect people from the Wuheng cave to come. This is going to be a little troublesome. Is the Wuheng cave stronger than the central god dynasty?" Ningyu was puzzled and asked. In Ningyu's opinion, the central divine dynasty was a behemoth that ruled an upper-class territory. The sacred divine palace, the primeval demon sect, the ancient demon sect, and the fallen spirits sect were not even worthy of carrying its shoes. The fact that the Wuheng cave could make Zhao Rui look so serious showed that it was a powerful force that even the central divine dynasty didn't want to provoke in a higher plane. Just like our central divine dynasty, the everlasting cave is located in an upper-class territory. Taking a deep breath, Zhao Rui explained, "But relatively speaking, there are many geniuses in the Wuheng cave. Even the geniuses of the 2 central celestial dynasties are not as many as in the Wuheng cave. The Wuheng cave has a unique method of nurturing geniuses. They have people in almost every lower plane." Ningyu nodded, showing that he understood this very well. When he was still a Sky Supreme, he had mistakenly entered the everlasting cave. He met Zhao Rui's brother, Zhao Heng, in the Wuheng cave. Strictly speaking, Ningyu was also selected by the Wuheng cave, but Ningyu left the Wuheng cave with the help of Zhao Heng and others. Otherwise, Ningyu would have been taken to a higher plane by the people of the Wuheng cave to accept the next round of assessment. "You are Ningyu?" After the young warrior of the Wuheng cave appeared, his eyes first swept across the faces of the crowd and then fell on Ningyu. Ningyu frowned slightly. He didn't like the attitude of the man from the Wuheng cave very much, but for the sake of the overall situation, Ningyu didn't act rashly. For him, as long as he entered the path to heaven, the danger of these people in front of him would be greatly reduced. After all, the path to heaven was extremely dangerous, and it was possible that even a peak sky immortal warrior would die in it. Quite a fierce temperament. The corners of the young warrior's mouth curled up, and he said disdainfully, "Since you are chosen by the Wuheng cave, it means that you are a person of the Wuheng cave in life and a ghost of the Wuheng cave in death. Come over now, open your mind, and let me control it. Maybe if I'm in a good mood, I can forgive your sins." "Are you an idiot?" Ningyu looked at the young warrior like he was looking at a fool and said, "I don't even know what your name is. You say you are a person of the Wuheng cave? I also say I'm the cave master of the Wuheng cave. I ask you to open your mind and let me control it. Are you willing?" "Courting death." The young warrior's face instantly turned cold, and he immediately displayed his aura, frantically pressing towards Ningyu. Rumble! A terrifying aura sprang out from the young warrior, and in an instant it arrived in front of Ningyu. Facing the terrifying aura rushing towards him, Ningyu not only did not feel nervous, but he shrugged his shoulders and said, "I have a special characteristic. That is, I can't stand others threatening me. Once someone threatens me, I will blow myself up." As he spoke, Ningyu's body swelled up, and he looked like he was about to blow himself up. At the same time, Ningyu also took out the origin creating divine stick and placed it in front of him. "Wait, we can talk things over. There's no need to kill me. Yes, if there's anything, let's sit down and talk it over. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive." Seeing that Ningyu wanted to blow himself up, the surrounding warriors could not sit still. It did not matter if Ning Yu blew himself up, they did not care at all. What they cared about was whether Ning Yu's explosion would destroy the origin, creating divine stick. 80 to 90% of the warriors who could come here knew the importance of the origin, creating divine stick. Without the origin creating divine stick, the probability of them safely leaving the path to heaven was only 50% at most, or even less. Under this premise, whoever dared to destroy the origin creating divine stick would become the enemy of many warriors. Whoosh! Even the many warriors present, including the purple-clothed Dan puppet, joined forces to test the pressure on the young warriors of the Wuhan cave. Being tested by so many people, even the young warriors of the Wuhan cave. Mo Ran was very angry, but he had to withdraw his aura. Although Mo Ran was very strong, no matter how strong he was, he could not be the enemy of so many people at the same time. Very good. Ning Yu put away the origin, creating divine stick, and his swollen body gradually returned to normal. I suggest that we attack together and find a way to break the bronze gate first. Seeing Mo Ran's livid face, the martial artist in the bamboo hut pointed to the bronze gate and said, "It's meaningless for us to delay here. The sooner we break the bronze gate, the sooner we can enter the path to heaven." I agree. Let's break the bronze gate first. If you have any grudges, let's solve them in the path to heaven. Yes, the most urgent task is to break the bronze gate first. Everything else has to be put aside. Someone took the lead, and the rest of the warriors spoke up one after another. For a moment, Mo Ran became a marginal figure from the focus of everyone's attention. Many martialists had formed an alliance, and this alliance just happened to exclude Mo Ran from it. How could Mo Ran not know why everyone was excluding him? Chapter 2061. Swish! Mo Ran's words made everyone, including the bamboo hat cultivator, grimace. Because so long as one wasn't an idiot, one would be able to tell that Mo Ran was obviously targeting Ning Yu. The goal of this temporary alliance was to help Ning Yu and prevent Ning Yu from being oppressed by Mo Ran. Now, not only did Mo Ran not restrain himself, he even became even more aggressive, causing everyone's expressions to become extremely unsightly. I don't care. Whether or not I can enter the path to the heavens has nothing to do with me. Ning Yu naturally knew that Mo Ran was targeting him. He shrugged and said indifferently, "Since you want to enter the path to the heavens, then go ahead and break open the bronze doors." As he spoke, Ning Yu moved his feet and retreated to the back. In the blink of an eye, he retreated to the back. Behind Ning Yu, Immortal Hongling and Immortal Five Fingers did not remain idle. They chased after Mo Ran. Damn it! Mo Ran's face turned green with anger when he saw Ning Yu's actions. His original intention had been to cause trouble for Ning Yu, but now, not only had he failed, but Ning Yu had even managed to corner him. If Ning Yu wasn't going to the path to the heavens, what was the point of them going? Humph! Mo Ran coldly snorted, then took a step forward. His fist brought along a violent Yuan Qi gale and ruthlessly smashed towards the bronze door. Swish! However, as Mo Ran advanced, an extremely well-concealed cold light suddenly shot out of his body and stealthily approached Ning Yu. This cold light was very well concealed, so well hidden that no one noticed it. Even Ning Yu didn't notice the cold light that was coming at him at the first moment. However, even though Ning Yu hadn't noticed it, the origin creating divine staff on him gave him a hint. Buzz! The origin creating divine staff buzzed continuously and transmitted a message into Ning Yu's mind. Swish! The message from the Essence Creation Divine Rod made Ning Yu's heart skip a beat. He hurriedly used his perception to observe his surroundings. Although Ning Yu was very anxious, he did not block Mo Ran's attack with great fanfare in order not to alert the enemy. Instead, he decided to observe first. As expected, almost in an instant, a cold glint attached to the corner of Ning Yu's clothes. A cold smile appeared at the corner of Ning Yu's mouth before he returned to normal. Since he had discovered the cold light that Mo Ran had left on his body, the next step would be easy. As long as he could get rid of the cold light that Mo Ran had left behind after entering the path to heaven, no matter how powerful Mo Ran was, he would not be able to discover his tracks. Rumble. At this moment, in the distance, the bamboo hat martial artist, the violet-robed pill puppet, and even Zhao Rui were unleashing powerful attacks at the bronze gate. In an instant, all sorts of spells and martial techniques were hurled at the bronze door. Kacha! Under the combined attacks of the crowd, the bronze door gradually began to crack. Let's keep it up. Mo Ran rejoiced at the sight of the cracks on the bronze door, and he hurriedly said, "In another 5 minutes, the bronze door will be broken." Rumble. It seemed that Mo Ran's words had been effective. Everyone in the area was attacking with all their might. How much do you know about the path to heaven? As everyone was attacking the bronze door, Ning Yu suddenly turned to Immortal Hongling and asked, "I hope that you are not lying to me. Tell me everything you know." Immortal Hongling's heart thumped when she heard Ning Yu's words. Immortal Hongling was well aware that, despite Ning Yu's calm tone, Ning Yu was already angry. After all, she had not told Ning Yu about the path to heaven at the very beginning. She had only told him about the path to heaven. Under such circumstances, even if she was in his shoes, she would probably be very angry. To be honest, the fact that Ning Yu could remain calm until now was a little beyond Immortal Hongling's expectations. Taking a deep breath, Immortal Hongling said, "The path to heaven is extremely dangerous. There might even be demonic beasts at the half-step abstruse immortal level." Half-step abstruse immortal? Ning Yu's expression could not help but turn grave. He knew that at the end of the path to heaven, there would be demonic beasts at the half-step abstruse immortal level. He had not expected that there would be demonic beasts at the half-step abstruse immortal level on the path to heaven. He now had 2 abstruse immortal laws, and after devouring many late-stage heaven immortals in the mist spirit realm, the Essence Creation Divine Staff could exert 50% of its power, which was equivalent to 1 abstruse immortal law. Even so, Ning Yu still could not pose even the slightest threat to a half-step abstruse immortal expert. The Essence Creation Divine Staff, with 50% of its power and 2 abstruse immortal laws, could only give him a slight advantage when facing a peak heaven immortal expert. That was all. According to Ning Yu's guess, if he wanted to compete with a half-step abstruse immortal expert, he had to become a real heaven immortal and pass the heaven immortal tribulation. Not only demonic beasts at the half-step abstruse immortal level, but there might even be demonic beasts at the true profound immortal level. Immortal Hongling's words were as shocking as they could get. Hiss! Hearing Immortal Hongling's words, even though Ning Yu was prepared, he could not help but gasp. Demonic beasts at the half-step abstruse immortal level were already very troublesome for him, let alone demonic beasts at the profound immortal level. Of course, the more dangerous it is, the more opportunities there will be. Immortal Hongling paused for a while, and then continued. In the path to heaven, there are many graves of demonic beasts at the half-step abstruse immortal level. Almost every martial artist who enters the path to heaven can find a grave. And in every grave, there should be abstruse immortal laws. As for whether one can take away and refine the abstruse immortal laws, it all depends on one's ability. Ning Yu did not doubt that Immortal Hongling would lie to him. After all, with his current strength, Immortal Hongling would not dare to lie to him. Even if Immortal Hongling concealed her strength, she would at most have 2 abstruse immortal laws. In other words, besides the black abstruse immortal law that she had just displayed, Immortal Hongling should have another abstruse immortal law. However, even if Immortal Hongling had 2 abstruse immortal laws, she was absolutely not a match for Ning Yu. Ning, you could kill her at any time if you wanted to. This is an opportunity. Immortal Hongling saw that Ningyu was slightly stunned, and a thought suddenly arose in her mind. When she first met Ningyu's strength was much weaker than hers. The reason she did not capture Ningyu was because she did not want to expose her abstruse immortal laws too early. Who would have thought that after such a short period of time, she would no longer be able to pose even the slightest threat to Ningyu? If this trend continued, it would not be long before Ningyu's strength could easily kill a peak heaven immortal expert. Therefore, the idea that arose in Immortal Hongling's heart was not to launch a sneak attack to kill Ningyu, but to submit to Ningyu. The surrender in her heart was complete and utter, without any stray thoughts. Chapter 2062. Abstruse Immortal. Every time Immortal Hongling thought of these two words, her heart would be filled with longing. It could be said that, apart from Immortal Hongling, almost all sky immortals were fascinated by abstruse immortals. They were even crazy about it. This was because advancing to abstruse immortal realm wasn't just about having enough immortal chi or abstruse immortal laws. Talent, resources, opportunities, not a single one of them could be missing. Immortal Hongling was a late-stage sky immortal, had 2 abstruse immortal laws, and was very talented. However, Immortal Hongling knew her own limitations. She knew that her chances of breaking through to abstruse immortal were only a terrifying 5%, or even 1%, 1%, or even 1%. Faced with such a terrifying possibility, it was understandable that Immortal Hongling wanted to rely on Ningyu and take a gamble. What's the matter? Immortal Hongling's actions attracted Ningyu's attention. Ningyu asked, "I want to rely on you." Immortal Hongling took a deep breath, as if she had made a great decision. "I want to rely on you for real." "Oh, if you want to rely on me, then so be it." "Why do you have to be so?" Ningyu stopped mid-sentence. He looked at Immortal Hongling and asked, "What did you say?" "I said, I want to rely on you. I want to open my mind and let you control me completely," Immortal Hongling said solemnly as she looked at Ningyu. "Why would you have such a thought?" Ningyu was very curious. He didn't think that he had the aura of a king that made Immortal Hongling want to submit to him. Moreover, if he really had the aura of a king, Immortal Hongling would have submitted to him long ago. Why would she wait until now? Therefore, there had to be another reason why Immortal Hongling wanted to submit to him. "Your cultivation speed is really too fast. I feel that if I follow you, I will have a high chance of breaking through to abstruse immortal." Immortal Hongling didn't hide anything and said directly, "Although I'm from the primordial demon sect, and the primordial demon sect has a grudge against you, I severed all ties with them the moment they sent me to the immortal spirit realm because I knew that it would be very difficult for me to leave the path of ingress safely. I won't be able to become a true Xian immortal on the path of ingress." "What do you mean?" Ningyu frowned. "Is it possible to advance on the path of ingress?" Ever since he entered the through path, Ningyu felt that he would not be able to advance any further. Because of this, he sighed with emotion. Since he was unable to advance, he could only rely on external forces to increase his strength. Origin creating divine rod or Xian immortal law. From what Immortal Hongling had said, it seemed that he could successfully raise his cultivation level in the path to heaven. How could he not be shocked? Immortal Hongling nodded and said, "Logically speaking, you can advance on the path of ingress. However, there is a lot of pure immortal chi left in the abodes of some powerful Xian immortal demonic beasts. You can use that immortal chi to advance smoothly. In that case, even if I advance, it won't be very useful, right?" Ningyu frowned. "I know what you're worried about. Advancing on the path to heaven can trigger a heavenly tribulation." Since she had decided to serve Ningyu, Immortal Hongling naturally told him everything she knew. She sorted out her thoughts and sent a voice transmission to Ningyu. "However, the end of the path to heaven is controlled by the experts of the various dominions, so they can see the strength of your heavenly tribulation. They can see it too." Ningyu fell into deep thought. To him, once he advanced to the heavenly immortal stage, his strength would improve by leaps and bounds. By then, if he met Mo Ran, Purple Robe Dan Puppet, and the others again, he could easily fight them and even kill them. However, his heavenly tribulation was too powerful. He was afraid that he would be remembered by the experts of the various dominions. Is there any way to block the heavenly tribulation? Ningyu asked. Immortal Hongling thought about it and shook her head. There's no way. Unless you suppress it and don't trigger the heavenly tribulation, they will definitely see it. At this point, Immortal Hongling paused for a moment before she lowered her voice and said, Is your heavenly tribulation very powerful? Ningyu smiled and did not answer Immortal Hongling's question. What did she mean by very powerful? If nothing went wrong, Ningyu's heavenly immortal tribulation would definitely be earth-shattering and earth-shattering. After all, Ningyu's earthly immortal tribulation was already equivalent to the heavenly immortal tribulation of some experts. Although his heavenly immortal tribulation might not be as powerful as the Xian immortal tribulation, it would not be too far off. Don't tell me it's really powerful? Immortal Hongling's mouth opened slightly when she saw Ningyu's reaction. Her face was full of surprise. However, even though she was surprised, Immortal Hongling was actually very happy. She had already decided to submit to Ningyu. The more powerful Ningyu's heavenly immortal tribulation was, the more talented Ningyu was. Moreover, with Ningyu's talent, her chances of becoming a Xian immortal in the future would naturally increase. Ningyu, the five-fingered immortal, looked at Immortal Hongling, then at Ningyu. Then he stammered, I want to enter. Speak normally. Ningyu's attitude towards Immortal Hongling was very good. Strictly speaking, there was not much enmity between him and Immortal Hongling. But the five-fingered immortal was different. The five-fingered immortal wanted to kill him. If not for the fact that he was stronger than the five-fingered immortal, the two of them would have probably exchanged fates. I want to enter the spatial ring. The five-fingered immortal mustered up his courage. You want to enter the spatial ring. Ningyu frowned slightly. Then he relaxed. The five-fingered immortal's cultivation was very weak. He had not even reached the late stage, heavenly immortal stage. Even a martial artist like the five-fingered immortal would be nothing more than cannon fodder on the path to heaven, let alone on the path to heaven. If not for Ningyu's help, the five-fingered immortal would have died on the path to heaven. How could he have made it here? Go in. No matter what, the five-fingered immortal was Ningyu's servant. Ningyu would not be stingy with his servants. He opened the spatial ring and let the five-fingered immortal in. Thank you, thank you. Seeing Ningyu open the storage ring, the five-fingered immortal immediately expressed his gratitude before darting into the storage ring. Crack! 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 As soon as the five-fingered immortal entered the spatial ring, the bronze door nearby suddenly cracked open. Let's go! After the bronze door cracked open, Mo Ran did not seem to care about Ningyu anymore. He was the first to rush into the path to heaven. Did the sun rise from the west? The surrounding martial artists were shocked when they saw Mo Ran being the first to enter the path to heaven. Everyone knew that the Origin Divine Rod was the key to successfully leaving the path to heaven. Why would Mo Ran be the first to enter? Could it be that Mo Ran had a backup plan? Swoosh! With this thought in mind, everyone's gaze shifted to Ningyu. Chapter 2063. Hearing Ningyu's words. Everyone in front of the path of ingress was taken aback. Then their expressions turned strange. Everyone knew that it was not that Ningyu did not want to enter the path of ingress, but that he did not want to enter it with them. And he said he was a man of his word? Who are you trying to fool? However, since Ningyu had said so, no one could refute him. Suddenly the area became so quiet that one could hear the sound of breathing. What are you all waiting for? Hurry up and enter the path of ingress. If you delay any longer, the entrance will be sealed. The first to break the silence was not the purple-robed pill puppet, nor the bamboo-hatted cultivator. Ningyu. Ningyu was the first to break the silence. I will not be entering the path of ingress. Do as you please. Don't worry about what I think. Damn it. The purple-robed pill puppet glared at Ningyu, then leaped into the air and was the second to enter the path of ingress. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Since the purple-robed pill puppet had set an example, the others did not wait any longer. They all rushed into the path of ingress. In a short period of time, there were only 3 cultivators left in front of the path of ingress: Ningyu, Immortal Hongling, and Zhao Ruwei. You're really not going in. Zhao Ruwei pointed at the path of ingress and said to Ningyu, there's only one way to enter a higher plane from the immortal spirit region. If you don't go in today, it will be 10 times more difficult for you to enter a higher plane in the future. Of course I'm going in. Ningyu shrugged and began to walk toward the entrance of the path of ingress. Wait. Seeing that Ningyu wanted to enter the path of ingress, Zhao Ruwei thought for a moment and seemed to have made a decision. She braced herself and said, after we enter the path of ingress, we will be transported to a random area. So I want to go with you. Go with me? Ningyu was taken aback. He did not know what Zhao Ruwei meant. But on second thought, Ningyu instantly understood. Zhao Ruwei wanted him to enter her storage ring. Or rather, she wanted him to enter Zhao Ruwei's treasure so that he could become one with Zhao Ruwei and enter the path of ingress together. In this way, even if the path to heaven teleported the cultivators to a certain area, they could still be together. Go into the storage ring. Ningyu pondered for a moment and chose to let Zhao Ruwei enter the storage ring. After all, Zhao Ruwei had helped him a lot, so there was nothing wrong with letting Zhao Ruwei enter his storage ring. Thank you. Zhao Ruwei didn't argue with Ningyu. Her figure flashed, and she instantly entered the storage ring. After Zhao Ruwei entered the storage ring, Ningyu saw that Immortal Hongling was standing there hesitantly. Thus, he decided to let Immortal Hongling enter the storage ring with him. Anyway, his combat power wasn't weak. He had the Origin Creation Divine Staff at 50% power and 2 Xian immortal laws. Unless one was unlucky on the path to heaven and encountered a true half-step profound immortal, or even a profound immortal level demonic beast. Otherwise, with his strength, he wouldn't have had much of a problem in the path of ingress. Swoosh! Ningyu wasn't an indecisive person. He closed the storage ring, his figure flashed, and he rushed straight into the path to heaven. Buzz! Not long after Ningyu disappeared, the void in this area split again. A cultivator with a pointy mouth appeared. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely discover that this sharp-mouthed cultivator wasn't a human, but a phantom mouse that he was familiar with. One had to know that the phantom armor had always been with Ningyu. However, as Ningyu's strength increased, the phantom armor could no longer satisfy him. Thus, he didn't try to upgrade the phantom armor's level recently. Now that the sharp-mouthed phantom mouse appeared, it immediately straightened its nose and sniffed hard. Then, a fierce look appeared on its face. I'm finally going to find the 3rd phantom armor of the Phantom Mouse clan. The sharp-mouthed phantom mouse curled up the corner of its mouth and said sinisterly, as long as I can combine the 3rd phantom armor with the first 2, I will be able to create a magic treasure at the peak of the heaven immortal level in an instant. By then, all the opportunities on the path to heaven will belong to me. As soon as it finished speaking, the sharp-mouthed phantom mouse instantly turned into a residual shadow and went into the path to heaven. Whoosh! As soon as the sharp-mouthed phantom mouse disappeared, the area split again. This time, there was only one cultivator who appeared. He was about 60 or 70 years old. Ningyu was very familiar with this cultivator. If Ningyu was here, he would easily recognize this old man as the old man on the top floor of the ivory tower in Ivory City. Ningyu still had the time-obverse pagoda that the old man had given him. I didn't expect to use the time obverse pagoda after so long. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing." The old man sighed softly. Then he tiptoed and disappeared into the path to heaven in a few breaths. Rumble. Not long after the old man disappeared, a huge bronze door suddenly appeared at the entrance of the path to heaven. This bronze door sealed the entrance of the path to heaven so tightly that not even a fly could fly in. Ning Yu had no idea what had happened at the entrance of the path to heaven. However, even if Ning Yu knew, he would not care too much about it. This was because after entering the path to heaven, he was transported to a mountain range. If he had only been transported to a mountain range, Ning Yu would not have been worried. What worried him was that the mountain range began to shake violently when he landed. The violent shaking lasted for half an hour before it stopped. Do you think the stop of the shaking is the end? Sorry, the stop of the shaking means the arrival of another starting point. Rumble. In front of Ning Yu, the ground suddenly caved in and 4 huge stone pillars suddenly emerged from the ground. On top of each stone pillar was a small altar. It's a half-step Xian immortal demonic beast skeleton. Ning Yu was shocked because he saw a small-scale altar at the top of every single stone pillar, and every single altar contained the corpse of a half-step mysterious immortal realm demon beast. Earthly underworld hound. Ning Yu's expression turned solemn. The so-called earthly underworld hound, as the name suggested, was a type of dog that lived deep underground. The opposite of the earthly underworld hound was the heaven-devouring hound. Although the heaven-devouring hound was ranked higher than the earthly underworld hound in the vast thousand world, some of the stronger martial artists knew that the gap between the two wasn't that big. There were experts among the earthly underworld hounds, not to mention the Xian immortal level earthly underworld hounds. They could even fight against the Xian immortal level heaven-devouring hound. Using 4 earthly underworld hounds as sacrifices, the weakest demonic beast or human would be a Xian immortal at the very least. Whoosh! Whoosh! Ning Yu did not make a decision on his own. Instead, he released Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling from his storage ring. It's actually an earthly underworld hound. Why is there an earthly underworld hound here? Immortal Hongling and Zhao Rui had different reactions when they appeared. Chapter 2064. We're in trouble. Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling looked at each other and saw the uneasiness in each other's eyes. Taking a deep breath, Zhao Rui said to Ning Yu, "If I'm not wrong, these 4 earth nether hounds are just the appetizer. The real sacrificial items are yet to come." Rumble. As if to verify the accuracy of Zhao Rui's words, an even larger stone pillar slowly appeared at the center of the 4 stone pillars. Gasp! Seeing the small altar on top of the huge stone pillar, Ning Yu and the others all sucked in a breath of cold air. Zhao Rui was right. The 4 half-step abstruse immortal earth nether hounds were just the appetizer. The real big fish was the earth nether hound on the small altar. Abstruse immortal. Although the earth nether hound had been dead for a long time, Ning Yu and the others could tell from its aura that it was an abstruse immortal demon beast. 4 half-step abstruse immortals and 1 abstruse immortal. Such a lineup of sacrificial items could no longer be considered luxurious. It would not be an exaggeration to describe it as super luxurious. Did we just barge into the grave of a golden immortal? Ning Yu felt his scalp go numb. Given his and Zhao Rui's strength, if they encountered a peak heaven immortal expert, they would be able to resist or even kill them. But if they met a half-step abstruse immortal or demon beast, they could only swallow their grievances. What they were facing now was not just a half-step abstruse immortal, but abstruse immortal or golden immortal. It shouldn't be a golden immortal. Zhao Rui shook her head. How powerful is a golden immortal? This path to heaven might look stable, but I can tell you clearly that once a golden immortal appears, the path to heaven will definitely collapse. Could it be that Origin Creation Immortal isn't a golden immortal? Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat. He had always thought that Origin Creation Immortal was a golden immortal. After all, the true level of the Origin Creation Divine Staff was a peak abstruse treasure. It was just that he couldn't unleash the full power of the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Now that Zhao Rui said that golden immortals wouldn't appear on the path of ingress, didn't that mean that Origin Creation Immortal's cultivation was at most a peak Xian immortal? Don't worry about it. Let's take these earthly abyss hounds away first. Just as Ningyu was in a daze, Zhao Rui's words suddenly reached his ears. Ningyu was stunned when he heard the voice. Then he looked at Zhao Rui in disbelief. In the end, you were just trying to get your hands on the corpses of the Netherworld hounds. Let's make an agreement first. I want 3 half-step Xian immortal underworld hound corpses. Ignoring Ningyu's strange gaze, Zhao Rui stretched out 3 fingers and said, "You too don't fight with me." As she spoke, Zhao Rui's feet touched the ground, and her body instantly shot out. Whoosh! Seeing Zhao Rui rush out, Ningyu's face darkened. There were a total of 4 half-step Xian immortal underworld hounds. Zhao Rui wanted 3 in one go. She was really asking for an exorbitant price. The reason why Ningyu felt that Zhao Rui was asking for an exorbitant price wasn't because he was stingy, but because he felt that he wouldn't be able to get the Xian immortal underworld hound corpse with his current strength. Try using the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Perhaps sensing Ningyu's depression, Immortal Hongling said, "Even if a Xian immortal underworld hound is dead, it still has a terrifying aura. You have to withstand that terrifying aura in order to get it." I see. Hearing Immortal Hongling's words, Ningyu gradually understood. It wasn't that Zhao Rui didn't want the Xian immortal underworld hound corpse, but she didn't have a magic treasure that could withstand the aura of a Xian immortal. After all, in order to withstand the aura of a Xian immortal, her magic treasure had to be at least of the Xian immortal level. I'll leave the remaining half-step Xian immortal underworld hound corpse to you. Since Immortal Hongling had told Ningyu the secret, Ningyu naturally wouldn't be stingy. As for the remaining Xian Immortal Hongling, Ningyu decided to give it to Immortal Hongling. As for him, he held the Origin Creation Divine Staff and rushed towards the Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpse in the middle. "Thank you." Seeing that Ningyu was willing to give her the Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpse, Immortal Hongling's face lit up as she hurriedly thanked him. Actually, it was no wonder that Immortal Hongling was so excited. If she could refine this half-step Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpse, her strength would at least double. Swish! Ningyu didn't care whether Immortal Hongling was excited or not. Holding the Origin Creation Divine Staff, he arrived beside the Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpse in the blink of an eye. Buzz! As expected, an extremely terrifying aura emanated from the Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpse, pressing down on Ningyu. "Go!" Fortunately, Ningyu was prepared. He immediately placed the Origin Creation Divine Staff on top of the Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpse. Uft! However, what Ningyu expected didn't happen. The Origin Creation Divine Staff didn't suppress the aura emanating from the Xian Immortal Underworld hound. Instead, it reversed and was suppressed by the aura. What's going on? Ningyu frowned slightly. He turned to look at Immortal Hongling and Zhao Rui, who were at the side, and realized that they were working hard. Zhao Rui was very fast. In a short period of time, she had already collected 2 Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpses. Immortal Hongling wasn't bad either. According to Ningyu's estimation, she would need at most 3 minutes to collect the Xian Immortal Underworld hound corpse. Could it be that this Xian Immortal Underworld hound's cultivation isn't at the early stage Xian Immortal stage? Ningyu's brows were tightly knitted as he fell into deep thought. In Ningyu's opinion, Immortal Hongling definitely wouldn't dare to lie to him. After all, Immortal Hongling was completely under his control. As long as he willed it, Immortal Hongling would die. Oh, right. Suddenly, Ningyu slapped his head and hurriedly took out the leftover material from the lightning pool. Ningyu wanted to see if the leftover material from the lightning pool could suppress the aura emanating from the Xian immortal underworld hound corpse. Although the Origin Creation Divine Staff had reached the peak of Xian treasure, Ningyu was ultimately unable to unleash 100% of its power. The Origin Creation Divine Staff, with 50% of its power, was equivalent to an ordinary peak, late-stage, heavenly treasure, Dharma treasure. The leftover material from the lightning pool was chopped off by Ningyu from the lightning pool. Strictly speaking, its material was much better than the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Buzz! Buzz! Reality proved that Ningyu's decision to take out the leftover material from the lightning pool was the right choice. The leftover material from the lightning pool was indeed able to suppress the aura emanating from the Xian immortal underworld hound corpse. Furthermore, Ningyu also discovered something extremely shocking. There wasn't just one Xian immortal underworld hound corpse in the small altar. According to Ningyu's initial observation, there were at least 5 Xian immortal level Xian immortal underworld hound corpses in the small altar. Isn't this too exaggerated? Ningyu's mouth was wide open and his face was filled with disbelief. 5 Xian immortal underworld hound corpses were already enough for him to charge into the heaven immortal realm. In fact, Ningyu had already made up his mind. As long as he obtained the 5 Xian immortal underworld hound corpses, he would charge into the heaven immortal realm right here. Chapter 2065. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Suddenly, Ningyu was taken aback. He realized that the Essence Creation Divine Rod in his hand was vibrating intensely. You should enter the storage ring first. Ningyu opened the storage ring and placed the Essence Creation Divine Rod inside. After entering the path to heaven, Ningyu made a decision. Unless he had no other choice, he would not increase the power of the Essence Creation Divine Rod. In other words, a 50% power Essence Creation Divine Rod might accompany him until he left the path to heaven. Although Ningyu did not completely lose trust in the Essence Creation Divine Rod, it had already become his second choice. The red demon sword's position in his heart soared to the top again. Can you give me a corpse? Ning, you had just thrown the Essence Creation Divine Rod into the storage ring when he heard the red demon's voice. The red demon's strength was linked to the grade of the red demon sword. The red demon sword was now a late-stage heavenly treasure, so the red demon's strength was a late-stage heaven immortal. Once the red demon sword was upgraded to a dark treasure, the red demon's strength would definitely soar to the Xian immortal level. How much can an Earth Hellhound's corpse increase your strength? Ningyu asked directly. In Ningyu's opinion, if the red demon could increase his cultivation to the peak heaven immortal level, he would not frown even if he had to give him 2 Earth Hellhound corpses. Peak late-stage heaven immortal level. The red demon thought for a moment and answered, if I can have 2 Earth Hellhound corpses, my strength can increase to the peak heaven immortal level. All right, I'll give you 2 Earth Hellhound corpses. Ningyu nodded and threw the 2 Earth Hellhound corpses to the red demon. Swoosh! After receiving the 2 Earth Hellhound corpses, the red demon flew to the other side. As for Ningyu, he placed his right hand on one of the Earth Hellhound corpses and began to devour the remaining energy. Bam! Just as Ningyu started devouring the Earthhound corpses, Xiaorui had already completely refined the 3 half-step Xian immortal Earthhound corpses. After refining the 3 Earth Hellhound corpses, even though Zhao Rui's cultivation was still in the late heavenly immortal stage, her battle prowess had recovered to its peak. After all, before refining the corpse of the Netherworld Hound, Zhao Rui was only able to bring forth 50% of her peak strength. Boom! At the same time, Immortal Redling had also completed her devouring and refining process. However, Immortal Hongling had only devoured and refined the corpse of a half-step Xian immortal underworld hound, so her strength did not improve much. It seems Ningyu wants to assail the heavenly immortal stage. After sensing her own strength, Immortal Hongling shifted her gaze to Ningyu. As soon as she did, Immortal Hongling's brows furrowed. It wasn't that Immortal Hongling didn't believe in Ningyu, but if he were to undergo the heavenly immortal tribulation here, it would very likely cause the entire mountain range to shake. It didn't matter if the mountain range shook, but if the master of the ritual appeared, the consequences would be unimaginable. Although a lot of energy has been lost from the 3 Xian immortal underworld hound corpses, it's enough to support Ningyu's breakthrough to the heavenly immortal stage. Hearing Immortal Hongling's words, Zhao Rui also stared at Ningyu. However, Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling had different opinions. From her expression, one could tell that she wasn't worried at all. Even so, I'm worried. Immortal Hongling pointed to the depths of the mountain range and said, You don't have to worry at all. I've observed carefully just now and discovered that we're in the middle of a huge array, and these 5 huge stone pillars are the eyes of the array. Zhao Rui pointed to the entire mountain range, then pointed to the 5 huge stone pillars in front of them, and explained, There are a total of 5 such eyes. 5. Immortal Hongling was stunned at first, then said, You mean to say that there are a total of 25 huge stone pillars, and on top of each stone pillar is the corpse of an earth hell hound? Actually, it was no wonder that Immortal Hongling was shocked. If what Zhao Rui said was true, then how powerful was the owner of the entire mountain range? Unless Ningyu's heavenly immortal tribulation is comparable to the Xian immortal tribulation, it's impossible for it to attract the attention of the owner of the mountain range. Zhao Rui shrugged, then shifted her gaze to the Hong Fiend. Compared to Ningyu, Zhao Rui was more curious about the Hong Fiend. The Hong Fiend was the sword spirit of the Red Fiend sword. Not only did it have its own consciousness, but it could also live independently from the sword. To be honest, Zhao Rui had never seen a sword spirit like the Hong Fiend, even though she was from the Central Divine Dynasty. A heavenly immortal tribulation comparable to the Xian immortal tribulation? Immortal Hongling frowned. For some reason, she felt that things weren't so simple. After all, when Ningyu mentioned the heavenly immortal tribulation to her, his expression didn't seem to be fake. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours had passed. After 2 hours, the Hong Fiend finally refined the 2 earth hellhound corpses. Bam, bam. 2 muffled sounds rang out. The first was the Red Fiend sword's advancement from the late stage heavenly treasure to the peak stage heavenly treasure. The second was the Hong Fiend sword's advancement from the late stage heaven immortal realm to the peak stage heaven immortal realm. The Hong Fiend sword strength was linked to the Red Fiend sword's advancement. Now that the Red Fiend sword had advanced to the peak stage heaven immortal realm, the Hong Fiend sword's strength naturally soared to the peak stage heaven immortal realm. The Dark Emperor Ning Lu, the Hong Fiend. Zhao Rui's eyes darted around, thinking of countermeasures. In Zhao Rui's heart, she had always wanted Ning Lu and the Dark Emperor to join the Central Divine Dynasty because she felt that they were very talented. But now, after seeing the talent displayed by the Hong Fiend, Zhao Rui gradually changed her mind. She felt that the Hong Fiend sword was the most talented. After all, Ning Lu and the Dark Emperor were only at the Earth Immortal Realm, while the Hong Fiend sword had soared to the peak stage Heaven Immortal Realm. It seems that I have to find a chance to talk to the Hong Fiend and try to get him to. Zhao Rui took a deep breath and murmured, Rumble. However, before Zhao Rui could finish her words, her mouth opened slightly, revealing a look of surprise. There was no other reason. Ningyu, who was in midair, had completely refined the 3 corpses of the Earth Hellhounds, and above Ningyu's head, a pitch-black tribulation cloud had appeared. Although the tribulation cloud was only the size of a palm, Zhao Rui knew that as time went by, the tribulation cloud would definitely grow bigger and bigger. Whoosh! It turned out that Zhao Rui's guess was right. The tribulation cloud above Ning Yu's head grew bigger and bigger. In just a few seconds, it had grown several times bigger. Moreover, the tribulation cloud was still growing bigger. The heaven immortal tribulation. Without a doubt, the tribulation cloud above Ning Yu's head was his heaven immortal tribulation. So terrifying? Feeling the terrifying aura emanating from the tribulation cloud, even though immortal Hongling was mentally prepared, she could not help but gasp. Chapter 2066. Compared to immortal Hongling. Zhao Rui was truly shocked. Zhao Rui was so shocked that she stood rooted to the ground. She wanted to say something, but eventually shut her mouth. Miscalculation. A huge miscalculation. Zhao Rui knew that she was wrong, very wrong. Although Ning Yu's heaven immortal tribulation had yet to reach its peak, it was already comparable to hers. It was conceivable that once Ning Yu's heaven immortal tribulation broke out completely, it would definitely crush hers. This was because as time passed, Ning Yu's heaven immortal tribulation became more and more terrifying. Will it attract the attention of the owner of the mountain range? Ning Yu's tribulation cloud continued to strengthen, giving Zhao Rui a sense of danger for the first time. Based on this trend, even if there were 10 formation eyes, they might not be able to withstand the impact of Ning Yu's heaven immortal tribulation, let alone 5 formation eyes and 25 giant stone pillars. As long as the 5 formation eyes were broken, the owner of the mountain range would definitely appear. At that time, it was highly likely that danger would befall them. Rumble. Ning Yu did not know about Zhao Rui's worries. However, even though Ning Yu knew about Zhao Rui's worries, there was nothing he could do at the moment. After devouring and refining the 3 corpses of the earthly hellhounds, the energy in his body was completely saturated, and he automatically triggered the heaven immortal tribulation. Ning Yu raised his head and looked at the black tribulation cloud that appeared in midair. His expression became extremely solemn. The heaven immortal tribulation was different from the earth immortal tribulation. Strictly speaking, only those who had passed the heaven immortal tribulation could be considered as real immortals. After all, there were no earth immortal laws in the body of an earth immortal, but there were heaven immortal laws in the body of a heaven immortal. The power of laws was the biggest difference between a heaven immortal and an earth immortal. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a waist-thick tribulation cloud appeared in midair and smashed towards Ning Yu fiercely. Whoosh! Although the tribulation cloud was only as thick as a person's waist, the lightning energy it contained was exceptionally terrifying. As expected of a sky immortal tribulation cloud, Ning Yu took a deep breath before clenching his right hand into a fist and abruptly punched out. To deal with the first tribulation cloud, Ning Yu would not use any trump cards. He did not even use his immortal energy. Instead, he would purely rely on his physical strength to resist it. Kacha! In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Ning Yu's fist collided with the first tribulation cloud. A crisp sound rang out. Ning Yu retreated dozens of feet, and the first tribulation cloud dissipated into thin air. Whoosh! However, Ning Yu did not have time to rest. After the first tribulation cloud was dispersed, the second tribulation cloud descended. Compared to the first tribulation cloud, the power of the second tribulation cloud was much stronger. If the power of the first tribulation cloud was equivalent to the full force strike of a late heaven immortal expert, then the power of the second tribulation cloud was equivalent to the full force strike of a peak late heaven immortal expert. Block! Against the second tribulation cloud, Ning Yu still did not use his immortal energy. He clenched his right fist and punched again. Kacha! The same thing happened. Ning Yu retreated several feet, and the tribulation cloud dissipated between heaven and earth. Ning Yu's physical strength is so strong. In the distance, Zhao Rui could not help but exclaim when she saw Ningyu resist the 2 tribulation clouds with just his fist. Although it was only the first 2 tribulation clouds, their power was equivalent to the attack of a late heaven immortal expert. The fact that Ningyu resisted them with his physical strength was enough to prove that the toughness of Ningyu's body was at least at the late heaven immortal level, or even the peak heaven immortal level. Boom! Just as Zhao Rui was secretly shocked, Ningyu's 3rd tribulation cloud suddenly descended. Swoosh! Zhao Rui hurriedly looked over. She wanted to see if Ningyu would be like the previous 2 and purely rely on his physical strength to resist the 3rd tribulation cloud. The power of the 3rd tribulation cloud increased a lot again, and it was only half a step away from the true peak heaven immortal level. According to Zhao Rui's observation, the power of Ningyu's 4th tribulation cloud would definitely reach the peak heaven immortal level. Again, Ningyu gritted his teeth and swung his fist again. I'm going to beat you. Ningyu's action made Zhao Rui unable to help but swear. Zhao Rui had to admit that Ningyu's boldness made her admire him for resisting the tribulation cloud 3 times in a row. However, admiration was admiration, and Zhao Rui was secretly worried for Ningyu. Zhao Rui even complained to her heart. She was worried that Ningyu would be too careless. If it were her, she would definitely use the immortal qi in her body to resist the 3rd tribulation cloud. Crack! However, what happened next made Zhao Rui's mouth open wide, and she blushed for her own judgment again. Ningyu used his physical strength to resist the 3rd tribulation cloud again. As the saying goes, once, twice, no more thrice. Ningyu used his physical strength to resist the tribulation cloud again and again, which was really beyond her expectation. Rumble. However, Ningyu's heaven immortal tribulation was far from that simple. Immediately after, a series of tribulation clouds came out of the void and smashed towards Ningyu. Although the power of these tribulation clouds had not reached the peak of heaven immortal, it was a little stronger than the 3rd tribulation cloud. Essence creating divine staff. Ningyu's mind moved, and he took out the essence creating divine staff from his storage ring. Even though Ningyu did not like the essence creating divine staff, he could not deny the power of the essence creating divine staff. It couldn't be better to use the essence creating divine staff to resist these tribulation clouds. Crack, 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 under the powerful power of the essence creating divine staff. In an instant, 3 tribulation clouds were broken and shattered. With Ningyu's strength and the help of the essence creating divine staff, it did not take too much effort to resist this wave of tribulation clouds. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, a void not far from Ningyu's group suddenly split open, and a group of 3 martial artists gradually appeared. If Ningyu were here, he would definitely recognize these 3 cultivators as the cultivators he had met outside the path to heaven. The purple-robed elixir puppet, the bamboo hat martial artist, and the white-robed martial artist. Among the 3 of them, the purple-robed Dan Shao was the strongest as he had reached the peak of heaven immortal stage. The bamboo hat martial artist was the 2nd strongest as he was at the peak of late heaven immortal stage. The white-robed martial artist was even weaker as he was at the late heaven immortal stage. Ha ha ha. After stopping, the purple-robed Dan puppet raised his head and laughed maniacally. Then he said darkly, "This is really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance." The martial artist undergoing the tribulation is Ningyu. The bamboo hat martial artist was a man of few words. What are you waiting for? Let's go. We can't let the origin divine staff fall into someone else's hands. The white-robed martial artist said anxiously. What's the hurry? The purple-robed Dan puppet glanced at the white-robed martial artist and said lightly, "If I'm not wrong, Ningyu should be undergoing the sky immortal tribulation. What's the use of running there now? Do you want to enter his thunder tribulation?" Let's hide first. When he finishes his tribulation, he must be very weak. When that time comes, we can rush out together. Why worry about not being able to get the origin divine staff? The bamboo hat martial artist said. As his voice fell, the bamboo hat martial artist suddenly drilled into the void and disappeared. Swish! Swish! Chapter 2067. At the same time, in another area, the void suddenly split open. A martial artist appeared out of thin air. Emo ran. This martial artist was Emo Ran from the Wuhang Cave. Is he undergoing the great tribulation of celestial immortal? Emo Ran frowned slightly. Without thinking, Emo Ran knew that the martial artist undergoing the tribulation was Ningyu. After all the martial artists who entered the path to heaven, except for Ningyu, were at the celestial immortal realm. Now that someone was undergoing the great tribulation of celestial immortal, there was a 99% chance that this person was Ningyu. Unlike Dan Puppet and the others, Emo Ran was very far away from Ningyu. He could only detect a trace of the heavenly tribulation's aura, but he could not directly determine that it was Ningyu who was undergoing the tribulation. Although he guessed that it was Ningyu 99%, there was still a 1% chance that it was not Ningyu. Swish! Clenching his fists, Emo Ran stomped on the ground, and his body darted out in an instant. Ka ka ka! Not long after Emo Ran disappeared, the space in the area he was in cracked open again. Sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse. It was a member of the Shadow Mouse clan, a sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse. Over there. The sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse sniffed hard, then burrowed into the void and disappeared. The same thing kept happening. To be precise, as long as the martial artist sensed Ningyu's great tribulation of celestial immortal, they all rushed over without stopping. Therefore, it became a great feat in the path to heaven. Martial artists from all directions rushed out, for fear that the origin creating divine staff would be snatched away if they were a step late. Of course, for these martial artists at the late stage of celestial immortal, even if they reached the mountain range where Ningyu was and saw Ningyu, they were destined to not be able to get the origin creating divine staff. Puff! In the mountain range, a huge tribulation cloud came crashing down and fiercely smashed onto Ningyu's chest. The tearing pain from his chest made Ningyu's throat sweet, and he immediately spat out a mouthful of red blood. The 48th tribulation cloud. Not too far away from Ningyu, Zhao Rui, Immortal Redling, and even Red Fiend were already numb. From the beginning until now, Ningyu had already forcefully withstood 48 tribulation clouds. These tribulation clouds, Ningyu used his physical strength to forcefully resist. Starting from the 24th tribulation cloud, the power of the tribulation cloud had already reached the peak of heaven immortal. More than 20 tribulation clouds with the power of a peak stage heaven immortal had almost reached the limit that Ningyu's body could withstand. Rumble. The void trembled as Ningyu's 49th tribulation cloud descended. Again, even though he was covered in blood, Ningyu was still fearless. He wanted to use his physical strength to resist the 49th tribulation cloud. On the other side, Zhao Rui, Immortal Red Bell, and Red Fiend, the three of them didn't even dare to watch. This was because Ningyu was already covered in blood. They were really afraid that Ningyu would not be able to withstand the 49th tribulation cloud. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of Zhao Rui and the rest, the 49th tribulation cloud smashed onto Ningyu's body. Crack! 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 In an instant, several crisp sounds came from Ningyu's body. It was obvious. 3 bones in Ningyu's body were broken. Finally, at the cost of 3 broken bones, Ningyu withstood the 49th tribulation cloud. Ningyu's heaven immortal tribulation is over. Immortal Red Bell looked at Ningyu, then looked at the calm void above Ningyu's head and asked doubtfully, It's not over. Zhao Rui's expression was extremely solemn. She said in a deep voice, "If I'm not wrong, it's just that the first stage of Ningyu's heaven immortal tribulation is over." The first stage? Immortal Red Bell was slightly stunned. She then said, "You mean there's a second stage?" "Ha! It's not just the second stage. There are at least 4 or 5 more stages." Zhao Rui sneered and said, "Gasp!" Hearing Zhao Rui's words, Immortal Red Bell gasped. The first stage of the tribulation cloud was already so powerful. What about the second, third, and even the 4th stage of the tribulation cloud? Recover. Ning Yu did not argue. He hurriedly mobilized the immortal qi in his body and began to recover. Ning Yu was very clear. The first stage of the tribulation cloud was just the appetizer. The real feast was yet to come. The reason why the real feast was yet to come was that none of the other formation eyes had appeared. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 3 minutes had passed. In 3 minutes, not only had Ning Yu connected the 3 broken bones, but he had also recovered to his peak state. Then, the void cracked again. The second stage of the tribulation cloud suddenly fell. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 5 terrifying tribulation clouds fell from the sky and attacked Ningyu at an extremely terrifying speed. Rumble. However, at that moment, the ground not far away from Ningyu suddenly caved in. 5 giant stone pillars emerged from the ground. The second formation eye. Without a doubt, the 5 giant stone pillars formed the second formation eye. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Seeing the appearance of the 5 stone pillars, the 5 terrifying tribulation clouds in the sky suddenly turned around and attacked the stone pillars. This, the sudden change, left Ningyu dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did the tribulation clouds suddenly change direction? One had to know that these were his second stage tribulation clouds. Now that the tribulation clouds were attacking the 5 giant stone pillars, Ningyu was a little confused. Crack, 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 crack. Just as Ningyu was pondering, the 5 giant stone pillars were broken by the 5 tribulation clouds. At the same time, 4 half-step mystic immortal earthhound corpses and 5 mystic immortal earthhound corpses flew out from the small altar at the top of the stone pillars. This is my chance. Ningyu gritted his teeth and immediately charged out. With so many earthhound corpses, it would be a waste not to take them. Anyway, he was still worried that he couldn't break through to the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm. If he had these earthhound corpses, he would definitely be able to break through to the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm. Ningyu's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already close to the corpses. Go in. Ningyu immediately opened his storage ring and took out the leftover materials from the lightning pool. Using the leftover materials, he threw the earthhound corpses into the storage ring. Rumble. Just as Ningyu placed the 9 earthhound corpses into the storage ring, his 3rd stage tribulation clouds had already arrived. In the sky, several tribulation clouds covered the sky and struck towards Ningyu. Buzz, buzz! However, the same thing happened. The 3rd formation eye appeared. 5 giant stone pillars slowly emerged from the ground. Just like before, the tribulation clouds in the sky turned around again and struck towards the 5 giant stone pillars. Ningyu seized the opportunity and stored the 9 earthhound corpses in the 3rd formation eye into the storage ring. At this point, there were 8 half-step mystic immortal earthhound corpses and 10 mystic immortal earthhound corpses in the storage ring. With so many earthhound corpses, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu got a great deal. In the storage ring, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were extremely busy. Chapter 2068. Gulp. On the other side, Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling couldn't help but swallow when they saw Ningyu's actions. Wasn't this too exaggerated? At this rate, it wouldn't be long before all 5 formation eyes were destroyed. And once the formation eyes were destroyed, then the owner of the entire mountain range was very likely to appear. Rumble. However, what shocked Xiao Rui and Immortal Hongling was yet to come. In mid-air, Ningyu's 4th stage tribulation cloud suddenly descended. Obviously, Ningyu's 4th stage tribulation cloud corresponded to the 4th formation eye. Before long, the 4 half-step abstruse immortal and 5 abstruse immortal earthhound corpses in the 4th formation eye were put into Ningyu's storage ring. Whoosh! The same thing was happening again and again. Ningyu's 5th stage tribulation cloud easily destroyed the 5th array core, allowing Ningyu to obtain the corpse of the Earth Hell Hound in the 5th array core without any effort. So far, apart from the 1st formation eye, Ningyu had a total of 16 half-step abstruse immortal and 20 abstruse immortal Earth Hound corpses. Because Ningyu had been paying attention to the gradually enlarging tribulation cloud, he didn't pay attention to the situation in the storage ring. If Ningyu knew the situation in the storage ring, he would probably be very angry, because the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu had already devoured 10 half-step abstruse immortal Earthhound corpses in a short period of time. It wasn't that Ningyu didn't want to, but in his opinion, since the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu had devoured so many corpses, their cultivation should have increased. However, the aura that the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu emitted was still at the peak of the Earth Immortal Realm, and there was still a long way to go before they reached the early stage of the Heaven Immortal Realm. Of course, Ning, you didn't have the time to pay attention to these trivial matters for now. He stared at the huge tribulation cloud in mid-air, and his expression became extremely solemn. The last tribulation cloud. The huge tribulation cloud in mid-air was the last tribulation cloud for Ningyu's heavenly immortal tribulation. Ningyu sensed an extremely terrifying aura from the tribulation cloud. Half-step profound immortal. Ningyu took a deep breath and his expression turned solemn. Even though he was mentally prepared, he couldn't help but feel nervous. What kind of concept was a half-step profound immortal? If he was able to resist this tribulation cloud, then if he encountered Mo Ran, the purple-clothed Dan puppet, and the others again in the future, he might be able to annihilate them without having to waste too much effort. Chi-chi. The tribulation clouds in the sky didn't make Ningyu wait for too long. 1 minute later, a huge black tribulation cloud swept down from the void and blasted fiercely towards Ningyu. Ka-ka-ka. Xiao Rui and Immortal Hongling clenched their fists tightly as they watched the enormous black tribulation cloud rumble towards Ningyu. They looked extremely nervous. Red Fiend's actions were even more exaggerated. If it wasn't for Xiao Rui and Immortal Hongling stopping him, Red Fiend would definitely rush into the tribulation cloud and help Ningyu to resist this tribulation cloud. Because, in Red Fiend's opinion, Ningyu's cultivation had not reached the heavenly immortal stage after all. It was really unwise for him to go head-on against a half-step profound immortal tribulation. Let me test your power first. Ningyu raised his head and looked at the black tribulation cloud that was only a few feet away from him. He took out the leftover materials from the lightning pool unhurriedly. The hardness of the leftover materials was no less than that of the essence creation, divine staff. Ningyu had some confidence in using the leftover materials from the lightning pool to resist the half-step profound immortal tribulation cloud. However, it was just a little bit of confidence. Ningyu didn't bet all his treasures on the leftover materials from the lightning pool. If the leftover materials were useless, wouldn't he have to face this tribulation cloud directly? Therefore, Ningyu placed the leftover materials on top of his head while he used the essence creation divine staff to build a second line of defense. At the same time, Ningyu began to contact the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu in the storage ring. He wanted them to inject their recovered energy into his body. If it really didn't work, he would go head-on against the tribulation cloud. I can't believe it. However, As soon as Ningyu's perception entered the storage ring, he couldn't help but curse. Wasn't the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu too exaggerated? In just a few minutes, not only did the two of them devour and refine 16 half-step profound immortal Earthhound corpses, they even refined 2 profound immortal Earthhound corpses. Ningyu, where did you find these Earthhound corpses? They are really great nourishment for me. Sensing Ningyu's perception entering the storage ring, the Dark Emperor grabbed another profound immortal Earthhound corpse and threw it into his mouth to chew. Yeah, with so many Earthhound corpses, I feel like my battle strength can soar to the peak of Heaven Immortal, and even have a chance to break through to the half-step profound immortal realm. Ning Lu strongly agreed with the Dark Emperor. I'll deal with you guys later. Ningyu knew what was more important. What he needed to do now wasn't to argue with the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, but to gather his strength to resist the last tribulation cloud. Blocked it, the lightning pool would appear, and he could complete the absorption of the tribulation lightning here. Unable to block it, he would most likely vanish into thin air. Ding! Suddenly a crisp sound rang out. The leftover materials from the lightning pool above Ning Yu's head had already collided with the huge black tribulation cloud. This, Ning Yu was dumbfounded. Zhao Rui was dumbfounded. Immortal Hongling and Hong Mo were dumbfounded. Apart from the few of them, even the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu in the storage ring were dumbfounded. The leftover materials from the lightning pool had actually blocked the impact of the black tribulation cloud. Wong wong wong. The black tribulation cloud seemed to have some pride. It swayed rapidly in the air a few times, then dove down again. Swish! However, the leftover materials from the lightning pool seemed to be at odds with it. No matter which direction it attacked Ningyu from, the leftover materials from the lightning pool would perfectly block it. This situation didn't last long. After all, Ning Yu's great tribulation of the sky immortal had come to an end. The black clouds in the void were slowly dissipating. The dissipation of the black clouds in the void meant that the power of Ning Yu's last tribulation cloud was rapidly weakening. Crack! Not long after, Ning Yu's last tribulation cloud couldn't hold on any longer and was smashed to pieces by the leftover materials from the lightning pool. Whoosh! The shattering of the last tribulation cloud indicated that Ning Yu's great tribulation of the sky immortal had come to an end. Now that the tribulation was over, the next thing was naturally the baptism of the tribulation lightning. The void trembled, and then a golden lightning pool slowly appeared in front of everyone. Tribulation lightning liquid. Seeing the appearance of the golden lightning pool, even though Zhao Rui was from the Central Divine Dynasty, she couldn't help but look serious. Zhao Rui's perception was originally very strong. She could clearly feel that the lightning tribulation fluid in the golden lightning pool was extremely authentic lightning tribulation fluid. The reason why it was called authentic was that the tribulation lightning liquid in the golden lightning pool wasn't even qualified to appear in some experts who were undergoing the great tribulation of the sky immortal. Chapter 2069. Zhao Rui came from the Central Divine Dynasty. She could say without exaggeration that even in the Central Divine Dynasty, the number of people who could do what Ningyu had done was less than a handful. There were many people who could do that. The number of geniuses Zhao Rui mentioned was not only limited to this batch of geniuses, but also included all the geniuses since the establishment of the Central Divine Dynasty until now. There were more than 10 million geniuses in the Central Divine Dynasty. It was no wonder that Zhao Rui was shocked that Ningyu could rank in the top 5 among so many geniuses. I wonder if Ningyu will give me a cup, Zhao Rui murmured, staring at the golden thunder pool in midair. However, before Zhao Rui's murmur had died away, several sinister laughs rang in her ears. Ha ha ha! It seems that this trip was worth it. Even if we can't get the Origin Divine Staff, With so much thunder, tribulation fluid, our strength can double. Yes, improving our own strength is the most important thing. As long as our strength doubles, I don't believe we can't leave the path to heaven. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and make your move. Snatch the lightning pool first. Swoosh! Many experts who had been attracted by Ningyu's celestial immortal tribulation finally couldn't help showing their fangs after seeing the thunder, tribulation fluid. To be honest, the appearance of so many experts made Zhao Rui and immortal Hongling's faces darken. Even though these people were the same heavenly immortal realm experts that were at the entrance of the path to heaven not long ago. But compared to that time, the strengths of these heavenly immortal realm experts had increased by over 2 times. In layman's terms, Zhao Rui and immortal Hongling thought they had no ability to deal with them. Plop! Ning, you didn't seem to notice the appearance of these people. He still did what he wanted and jumped into the thunder pool. Wisps of thunder tribulation fluid entered Ning Yu's body through his pores. And Ning Yu absorbed the thunder tribulation fluid at a very fast speed. Almost every second, Ning Yu's strength would increase a little. However, this action of Ning Yu angered the warriors who had appeared around. Xiao, a bearded cultivator, soared up from the ground and charged at Ning Yu. This bearded martial artist's cultivation was at the peak of late sky immortal stage. In terms of combat prowess, he was a bit stronger than immortal devil snake. Kid, if you know what's good for you, you'd better hurry up and... Pooh! Before the bearded man could finish his sentence, his body lost control of itself and was sent flying backward. He spat out a mouthful of blood. What happened? Why did Beard fly back by himself? You're asking me. Who am I supposed to ask? It should be Ningyu who made the move just now. I saw him raise his hand slightly. The surrounding martial artists once again discussed spiritedly. But this time, they looked at Ningyu as if they were looking at a monster. This was because Ningyu had only raised his hand and the bearded cultivator was sent flying. Furthermore, his aura had dropped to a freezing point. Everyone, don't be frightened by Ningyu. I saw everything that happened just now, very clearly. It was the girl beside Ningyu who made the move. Just as everyone was at a standstill, a deep voice suddenly resounded. The purpose of this voice was very clear. It was to point the spearhead at Zhao Rui, making Ningyu the target of public criticism once again. No wonder. I thought that Ning Yu only moved a finger. How could he possibly defeat the bearded cultivator? I suggest that we attack together. If we're a step late, the lightning tribulation fluid will be completely absorbed by Ningyu. Go. With this fanning, many martial artists rushed out one after another, charging at Ningyu from all directions. Splash! Sensing so many martial artists charging at him, Ningyu suddenly stood up from the lightning pool and stored the lightning tribulation fluid in the lightning pool into a jade bottle and threw it into his storage ring. Buzz, buzz! After the lightning tribulation fluid was put away by Ningyu, the lightning pool immediately turned into a shadow and disappeared. Ningyu first cracked his neck, then waved his hand at Zhao Rui and immortal Hongling, indicating that they didn't need to come over and help. The current Ningyu was no longer the same as before. After transcending the heavenly immortal tribulation, his cultivation base had surpassed the early stage heavenly immortal realm with the help of the netherworld hound's corpse that he had devoured earlier, and reached the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm. After advancing to the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm, Ningyu didn't know exactly how strong his true strength was. Coincidentally, at this moment, with so many cannon fodder coming to cause trouble, it was the perfect opportunity for Ningyu to test his strength. Can Ningyu do it? Seeing Ningyu wave his hand, immortal Hongling revealed a worried expression. No one was more excited than immortal Hongling that Ningyu had advanced to the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm, because only when Ningyu's strength continued to increase, she would have a chance to advance to the mystic immortal realm if she followed Ningyu. Otherwise, if Ningyu continued to stay where he was, She would never be able to advance to the mystic immortal realm if she followed behind Ningyu. As long as those experts don't appear, Ningyu shouldn't have much of a problem. Zhao Rui glanced towards the east and said in a low voice, "To be honest, as for Ningyu's current strength, Zhao Rui was also completely clueless about it. However, there was one thing Zhao Rui could be sure of, and that was that Ningyu wouldn't do something he wasn't confident in." Since Ningyu dared to face so many martial artists head-on, it meant that he had the strength to do so. Those few experts. Immortal Hongling was stunned at first. Then her expression became extremely solemn. Immortal Hongling wasn't stupid. She naturally knew who those experts Zhao Rui mentioned were. Mo Ran of the Everlasting Cave, the Pill Puppet Clan's purple-robed pill puppet, the martial artist wearing a bamboo hat. The real battle seemed to have just begun. Uft! In midair, Ningyu's fist landed on the head of a late-stage heaven immortal martial artist. The martial artist's head exploded, and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. To deal with this kind of martial artist, one had to be heavy-handed and kill him in one blow. He couldn't leave any leeway for him. Otherwise, when he recovered, he would still be your enemy next time. There was only one thought in Ningyu's mind, and that was to kill all these people. In any case, there were the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu in his storage ring, and even Hong Mo and Zhao Rui, with the devouring ability of the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. Even if there were a few peak heaven immortal martial artists, they would be easily devoured, let alone these martial artists who provoked them. After all, devouring the corpse of a half-step mystic immortal earthhound was as easy as eating for them. Although a lot of energy had been lost from the corpse of a half-step mystic immortal earthhound, it still contained much more energy than a peak heaven immortal martial artist. If not for the fact that he was busy, Ningyu would definitely ask the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu why their strength hadn't improved at all. Everyone calm down. Ningyu is a wax head with a silver spear. As long as we remain calm, Ningyu definitely won't be able to pose a threat to us. A low voice sounded in the void again. Humph! Come out! Chapter 2070. Not good. The white-robed cultivator paled and hastily retreated. Moreover, as he retreated, the white-clothed martial artist kept asking for help from the purple-clothed pill puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist. After all, his peak late-stage sky immortal cultivation made it very difficult for him to fight against Ningyu. Unless the purple-robed Dan puppet and the bamboo-hatted martial artist helped him, he would definitely die. Should we go or not? The bamboo hat cultivator asked with a gloomy expression. In truth, after seeing Ningyu successfully advance to the mid-stage sky immortal stage, the bamboo hat cultivator no longer wanted to clash with Ningyu. His idea was very simple. He would let others fight with Ningyu, and he would just sit back and reap the benefits. Wait a little longer. The pill puppet said expressionlessly. The pill puppet was a peak sky immortal, so he could see the situation more clearly. Ningyu had already matured. Even if the pill puppet and the bamboo hat cultivator attacked together, they wouldn't be able to harm Ningyu in the slightest. For now, he could only wait for this path to be chosen. There was no other way. Damn it! The white-robed cultivator was no fool. He instantly determined that the pill puppet and the bamboo hat cultivator wouldn't help him. After cursing inwardly, the white-robed cultivator decisively said to Ningyu, I surrender. I am willing to serve you. You only want to serve me now. I'm sorry, but I don't accept it. Ningyu slowly shook his head, then turned his palm into a fist and punched at the white-robed cultivator's head. Swish! At this critical moment, the white-robed cultivator hastily dodged. Although the martial artist in white was very fast, he was still punched in the chest by Ningyu, who was even faster. Crack! Crack! With a few crisp sounds, several of the white-robed cultivator's ribs broke. Die! Ning, you didn't give the white-robed cultivator any chance. As soon as he succeeded in his attack, he immediately gave chase. This time, the cultivator in white was not so lucky. His head came into close contact with Ning Yu's fist. All of a sudden, the white-clothed martial artist's head exploded, and his flesh and blood became a mess. I was a bit too heavy-handed. Looks like I'll have to pay more attention in the future. Ning Yu stared at the white-robed martial artist's corpse for a moment before grabbing the white-robed martial artist's shoulder and tossing him into his storage ring. Since the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were in his storage ring, Ning Yu wasn't worried that no one would be able to digest the corpse of the cultivator in white. After doing all this, Ning Yu's gaze swept across the surroundings, and his indifferent voice rang out. "Who else wants my tribulation lightning fluid?" Whoosh! Although Ning Yu spoke very gently and did not have any killing intent, the surrounding martial artists were not stupid. Who would dare to oppose Ning Yu now? Even someone as strong as the white-clothed martial artist was killed in a few moves, let alone small fries like them. I'll give you a chance to live now. Ning Yu was prepared to kill them all at first. But on second thought, the expert hidden in the void had not appeared yet, so he couldn't exhaust himself too much. If he exhausted himself too much, wouldn't he be at a disadvantage when the expert in the void appeared? What do you want us to do? Hearing Ning Yu's words, a bald-headed, heavenly, immortal late-stage martial artist mustered up his courage and asked, "That's a very good question." Ning Yu raised his head and swept a glance at the bald-headed martial artist and said, "As long as you hand over your worldly possessions to me, I'll spare your lives." Worldly possessions. The bald-headed martial artist patted his bald head, then took out a storage bag and said, "All my magic treasures and pills are in this storage bag. I'll hand it over to you now." Swoosh! The bald-headed martial artist flicked his wrist and tossed the storage bag to Ning Yu. "Pa!" Ning Yu stretched out his right hand and caught the storage bag steadily. However, even though he caught the storage bag, Ning Yu's expression did not look good. He waved the storage bag in his hand and said to the bald-headed martial artist, "I'll give you one more chance. Are these really all your worldly possessions?" Really? Uft. The bald-headed martial artist gritted his teeth. Before the bald-headed martial artist could finish his words, Ning Yu flicked his finger and a cold light flew out. Chi-chi! The cold light swept across the void, and under the horrified gaze of the bald-headed martial artist, it pierced through his temple. Thump! The bald-headed martial artist's eyes widened as his body fell backward. Gasp! The death of the bald martial artist caused the surrounding martial artists to suck in a breath of cold air. Very quickly, the surroundings fell into dead silence. Ning Yu acted as if nothing had happened. He casually threw the bald-headed martial artist into his storage ring and said indifferently, "I'll say it one last time. Whoever wants to live, hand over all your worldly possessions to me." "You're going back on your word." "The bald-headed martial artist has already handed over all his worldly possessions to you, but you—" Uft! Suddenly, a lame late-stage heavenly immortal martial artist yelled. Ning Yu did not waste his breath. He flicked his finger again, and a cold light shot out. Just like the bald-headed martial artist, the lame late-stage heavenly immortal martial artist fell to the ground on the spot and died tragically. The death of the bald-headed martial artist and the lame martial artist made the expressions of the martial artists who hoped to get lucky very ugly. They originally thought that Ning Yu was bluffing them. Who would have thought that Ning Yu could really see through them? In this case, if they wanted to live, there were only two possibilities. First, defeat Ning Yu, or even kill him. Second, according to what Ning Yu said, hand over all their worldly possessions. "I'll do it." Not long after, a long-haired, late-stage, heavenly immortal martial artist threw out a storage pouch. "I'll do it too." "Me too." I. I'm willing to hand over all my worldly possessions to you. Even if you want me, it's not impossible. With the first long-haired martial artist taking the lead, the remaining martial artists seemed to have their psychological defenses shattered in an instant and followed suit. There were even beautiful martial artists who boldly confessed their love to Ningyu. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Looking at the storage pouches flying towards him, Ningyu did not panic. Instead, he opened his storage ring and did not reject any of them, putting them all into his storage ring. Can we go now? After handing over the storage pouches, the surrounding martial artists looked at Ningyu with apprehension and asked cautiously. After all, losing all their worldly possessions meant that their lives were completely in the hands of Ningyu. It could be said that if Ningyu wanted them to live, they might not necessarily be able to because this was the path to heaven and it was extremely dangerous. However, if Ningyu did not want them to live, they would definitely die. Whether you leave or not doesn't seem to have much to do with me, right? Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, "Let me give you a piece of advice. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind." The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind? The surrounding martial artists were dumbfounded when they heard about Ningyu's physique. Could there be a third party hidden in the void? At that thought, the surrounding martial artists released their senses, wanting to see if there were any hidden martial artists in the void. Killing with a borrowed knife. They want to use these people to deplete our strength. The purple-robed elixir puppet's face was livid, and he gritted his teeth in hatred. Chapter 2071. Don't worry, Ning, you might not be talking about us. The cultivator in the bamboo hat had a different opinion from the elixir puppet. In his opinion, the oriole that Ningyu was talking about was most likely another group of people. After all, he had also sensed several powerful auras in the surroundings. Even he couldn't say that he had 100% chance of winning against the owners of those auras. It might not be us. The elixir puppet was taken aback at first, but then he also released his senses. Uft, 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 uft. As soon as the elixir puppet released his senses, the cultivators that Ningyu had taken away all vomited blood, and their auras plummeted. What's going on? The sudden change left the elixir puppet dumbfounded. An expert is making a move. The elixir puppet immediately reacted. He stared gravely into the distance and said in a low voice, "We're in big trouble this time." "Ah, Ningyu, why did you go back on your word? You'll die a horrible death. Who's sneaking around? Who dares? Uft, run, run. It'll be too late if we're late." In an instant, all sorts of screams resounded in the area. However, the screams only lasted for a few seconds before they completely disappeared. The disappearance of the screams meant that all the late-stage sky immortal cultivators had been killed. Whoosh! Not long after the deaths of the cultivators, the void split open, and a man in a light blue robe slowly appeared in front of everyone. Hiss! Ning, you couldn't help but gasp when he saw the man in blue. Powerful. He's too powerful. An abstruse immortal. Ningyu frowned and said in an uncertain tone. Ning, you could sense the aura of an abstruse immortal from the man in blue. However, Ningyu knew that even if the man in blue was an abstruse immortal, he couldn't unleash the power of an abstruse immortal. Otherwise, he would have been the first to kill him. After all, he had taken away all the corpses of the netherworld hounds that belonged to the man in blue. All of you come out. The man in blue did not pay too much attention to Ningyu. He casually threw a few punches in all directions. Walla! 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 Wherever the blue-robed man's fist light passed, the void exploded. When the fist light stopped, a martial artist appeared in the void. Phantom Rat Clan! When the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse was blasted out, Ningyu's jaw dropped. His face was filled with disbelief. In an instant, Ningyu decided to refine the phantom armor again. The Mirage Rat Clan wouldn't appear for no reason. Every time they appeared, it was for some important matter. Given the way the Mirage Mouse was looking at Ningyu, Ningyu was able to instantly come to a conclusion. Refining the phantom armor. Ningyu was not an indecisive person. He winked at Red Devil next to him. Red Devil understood and immediately entered the storage ring to refine the phantom armor. Since Red Devil was a sword spirit, he had experience in helping the Red Devil sword increase its grade. Therefore, it was the best choice for him to refine the phantom armor. Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling had already flown to Ningyu's side before the man in blue appeared. Seeing Red Devil enter the storage ring, the two of them frowned but did not ask. At this time, the two of them seemed to be of little use. But Zhao Rui was careful. She stood to the right of Ningyu, and the right of Ningyu happened to be where the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse had appeared. It had to be said that Zhao Rui had a sharp eye. She could tell that Ningyu might have a grudge against the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse. Therefore, she helped Ningyu pay attention to the mouse's every move. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse appeared, Mo ran of the everlasting cave, the Pill Puppet Clan's purple-robed Pill Puppet Clan's Pill Puppet Clan, and the Bamboo Hat martial artist were all forced to appear from the void. You've hidden yourself quite well. The man in blue was obviously not satisfied. He raised his right hand slightly and pressed it down. Boom! The man in blue's move was extremely powerful. Apart from shattering the void, the entire mountain range began to tremble violently. Humph! A cold harumph responded to the man in blue. Whoosh! After the cold harumph, an old man flew out from the void and charged toward the man in blue. Judging from the old man's posture, it was obvious that he wanted to exchange blows with the man in blue. I'm going to kill you. Ningyu was dumbfounded when he saw the old man. He could not help but swear. If he was shocked when the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse appeared because of the phantom armor, then he was shocked when the old man appeared because of the Time Pagoda. The old man was not a stranger. He was the old man at the top of the ivory tower of the Great Xia Kingdom. He was the old man who had given him the Time Pagoda. His cultivation base is so high. Ningyu's expression was solemn. He could not determine the man in blue's true cultivation base, but he could determine the old man's. Half-step Xian Immortal. The old man's cultivation base was at the level of a half-step Xian Immortal. However, Ningyu was puzzled. Logically speaking, how could a powerful martial artist like the old man be hiding in an ivory tower? In other words, it was impossible for the old man to survive in the plane barrier of the immortal spirit realm. Even if the old man used a special method to hide his cultivation base, it was impossible for him to survive. Because the distance between a half-step Xian Immortal and a human immortal was so great that no matter how hard a half-step Xian Immortal hid his cultivation base, he could not escape the detection of the plane barrier. Could this be his elder brother or younger brother? Ningyu thought to himself. Bang! At this moment, the old man and the man in blue had already started fighting. The fight between the two of them was not earth-shattering and earth-shattering. Instead, it was a probing attack. Old man, you came at the right time. The man in blue regained his composure, and the corner of his lips curled up into a smile. I was just worried that these little guys wouldn't be able to provide me with the energy I need. Now that you're here, you've solved my problem. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? A piece of trash with half a foot in the grave. If it wasn't for the earthly hellhounds, you would have died a long time ago. The old man revealed a disdainful look. I can kill a martial artist like you with a flip of my hand. Ha ha ha. The man in blue seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He laughed wildly and said coldly, I hope your mouth is still as tough as it is now. As the word tough fell, the man in blue's figure gradually turned illusory and disappeared. Rumble. As soon as the man in blue disappeared, the ground shook violently. Not good. It's the immortal exterminating demon formation. Chapter 2072. Not bad, little kid. You actually know about the Immortals' exterminating demon array. Unfortunately, even if you know about the Immortals' exterminating demon array, you will still die today. In the void, the man in blue could not help but take another look at Zhao Ruwei. After all, the Immortal Annihilation Devil formation was an ancient formation, and even some mysterious Immortal Realm experts might not know of it. Since Zhao Ruwei knew about the immortal exterminating demon formation, it meant that she most likely came from a powerful force. Let's go! The old man seemed to know how terrifying the immortal's exterminating demon formation was. His figure flashed, and he was the first to rush out, unleashing a powerful attack towards the void. Rumble! The attack of a half-step profound immortal was extremely powerful. In a split second, the void cracked and the man in blue was thrown out of the void. Rise! However, even though the old man had thrown the blue-robed man out, he was still unable to stop the formation of the immortal's vanquishing demon formation. In just a few seconds, the blue-robed man had successfully set up the immortal's exterminating demon formation. Ha ha ha! After the immortal exterminating fiend array appeared, the blue-robed man raised his head and laughed maniacally. This is truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching only to find it by chance. With these tonics, I, Lei Qianqiang, might even have the chance to return to my peak state. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. Soon after, a pair of golden wings suddenly appeared on the back of the blue-clothed man, Lei Qianqiang. Flapping his wings, Lei Qianqiang once again soared into the sky. Lei Qianqiang occupied the high ground and made a grabbing motion with his right hand. A cold light suddenly shot towards the ground. Ka-ka! When the cold light came into contact with the ground, it directly shattered the ground. A huge stone pillar shot out from the ground and soared into the sky. Suppress him! Lei Qianqiang took a step forward and landed firmly on the top of the stone pillar, stopping it from rising any further. Now you can enjoy this feast. Lei Qianqiang sat cross-legged on the stone pillar, the corners of his mouth curving upwards. At this moment, Lei Qianqiang was abnormally relaxed. He didn't even care about the life and death of the old man and Ningyu, because in Lei Qianqiang's opinion, Ningyu and the old man's group would undoubtedly die. In order to set up this immortal's exterminating demon formation, it took him several decades. Once the immortal vanquishing fiend formation was activated, even a profound immortal expert wouldn't be able to escape. The immortal exterminating fiend formation was enough to kill a profound immortal expert. Damn it, what's going on? Within the immortal exterminating demon formation, the first people to suffer were the relatively weaker, purple-robed pill puppet and the bamboo hat cultivator. At this moment, their feet seemed to be fixed in place. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't move an inch. Shio! Shio! Suddenly, two thorns shot out from under the feet of the purple-clothed Dan puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist, piercing through their feet. Ah, what the hell is that? Get out of my way! The purple-clothed Dan puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist screamed, hysterically at the same time. However, no matter how they shouted, they could not move at all. At this rate, it was very likely that they would not be able to hold on for long before they were killed. We surrender. It was a critical moment. In order to survive, the purple-robed Dan puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist chose to surrender. Surrender? At the top of the stone pillar, Lei Qianqiang opened his eyes slightly. However, when he sensed the cultivation of the purple-clothed Dan puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist, he slowly shook his head. These two aren't even half-step profound immortals. There's no point in keeping you alive. Lei Qianqiang shrugged and closed his eyes again. Actually, Lei Qianqiang was just saying it casually. In his heart, he would not show mercy even if the purple-clothed Dan puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist were half-step profound immortals. After all, he urgently needed energy, a large amount of energy, before he could enjoy the 45 corpses of the underworld hounds that he had left behind in the 5 formation cores. Ningyu had stolen the chicken halfway. Therefore, he only had one thought at the moment, and that was to devour all the experts in the immortal exterminating demon formation. Then he would go to the end of the path to heaven and fight with the martial artist there to see if he could devour them all. The reason why Lei Qianqiang had this thought was because once he devoured Ningyu and the others, there was a high chance that his cultivation would recover to the profound immortal level. A profound immortal level cultivation would be enough for him to gallop at the end of the path to heaven. At the very least, he would be undefeatable. Ningyu, you can't just watch us die. If we die, you won't be able to live either. Seeing that they couldn't surrender, the purple-clothed Dan puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist turned their attention to Ningyu. Now, in this area, only Ningyu's performance could be considered a little calmer. The others, including the sharp-mouthed shadow mouse and even the old man, had grave expressions as if they were facing a great enemy. At this time, the purple-clothed Dan puppet naturally believed that Ningyu had a way to break the immortal exterminating demon formation. Ning, you only glanced at the purple-clothed Dan puppet and the bamboo hat martial artist before turning his head away. The immortal exterminating demon formation was an ancient formation. How could Ningyu possibly break it? The reason why Ningyu was relatively calm was because he didn't want to expose himself too much. In other words, he was accumulating strength. There were still a dozen or so profound immortal level earth netherhound corpses in his storage ring. Moreover, Zhao Rui was secretly pouring all the energy in her body into his body. Coupled with the magic treasures and pill puppets that he had just plundered from the late-stage Sky Immortal experts, he had a 10% chance of breaking the immortal exterminating demon formation. Don't think that a 10% chance was small. However, a 10% chance was already very good. I have to use the tribulation lightning liquid. Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He gritted his teeth and decided to forcefully devour the tribulation lightning liquid. According to Ning Yu's plan, the tribulation lightning liquid in his storage ring was to be used when he attacked the late-stage Sky Immortal or even the peak Sky Immortal. Now, in order to break the immortal exterminating demon formation, he had to use it in advance. However, even if he devoured the tribulation lightning liquid in advance, Ningyu would only increase his chance from 10% to 20%. 20% chance, to be honest, wasn't too high. You can use the Times Square Pagoda. Just as Ningyu was thinking about how to contact the old man's words suddenly resounded in his ears. Hearing this, Ningyu was stunned at first. He then looked at the old man with a face full of disbelief. This was because the old man's next words left him dumbfounded. There is an extremely terrifying energy within the Times Square Pagoda. The old man's words were extremely shocking. He did not beat around the bush and said directly, "Back then, I handed the Times Square Pagoda to you out of selfishness. Who would have thought that you would never open the Times Square Pagoda? Now that things have come to this, I won't hide it from you. At that time, I could already tell that you possessed the battle god physique. Therefore, I wanted to use the blood of your battle god physique to nourish the Times Square Pagoda." Chapter 2073. Whoosh! Ning Yu was a little angry when he heard that the old man had schemed against him in the past. However, Ning Yu did not show his anger. He knew that the most important thing at this stage was to find a way to break the immortal's vanquishing demon formation, not to go against the old man. With a flick of his wrist, Ning Yu took out the Time Pagoda from his storage ring. Ning Yu did not waste any time. He forced out a few drops of blood from the divine body of war and dripped them on the Time Pagoda. Boom! As soon as the blood of the divine body of war dripped on the Time Pagoda, Ningyu felt a terrifying energy surging in the time pagoda. Gasp! Ningyu gasped when he felt the terrifying energy. The amount of energy far exceeded Ningyu's imagination. Originally, Ningyu thought that even if there was a lot of energy in the time pagoda, it would only increase his chances of breaking the immortal's vanquishing demon formation from 20% to 30%. However, the current situation made Ningyu realize that he was wrong and very wrong. 50%. The energy in the time pagoda was enough to increase his chances of breaking the immortal's vanquishing demon formation from 20% to 50%. At this moment, on the other side, the purple-robed pill puppet and the bamboo hat cultivator finally could not hold on and died on the spot. Swoosh! Swoosh! After the purple-robed pill puppet and the bamboo hat cultivator died, 2 streams of energy gushed out from their bodies and flew toward Lei Qianqiang in midair. Come here. Ningyu held the time pagoda in his hand and immediately intercepted the energy of the purple-robed pill puppet and the bamboo hat cultivator. Ningyu was in need of energy now. It was always good to have more energy. Interesting. On top of the stone pillar, Lei Qianqiang's lips curled up and he said calmly, "You guys killing each other can save me some trouble." Lei Qianqiang did not care who took the energy. In his opinion, all the energy would eventually belong to him, because he controlled the immortal's exterminating demon formation. He was the master of the immortal's exterminating demon formation. Unless Ningyu and the rest could break the immortal's vanquishing fiend array, he would always be in control of Ningyu and the rest. What do you want? When Mo Ran saw Ningyu intercept the purple-robed pill puppet and the bamboo-hatted martial artist's energy, his expression turned ugly. He looked at Ningyu coldly and said fiercely, "Let's mind our own business. I didn't do anything to you. Noisy!" Before Mo Ran could finish speaking, Ningyu held the Times Square pagoda in his hand and launched a powerful attack at him. Ningyu's thinking was very simple. If he could get rid of one more, he would have more energy. It would be very helpful for him to break the immortal vanquishing demon formation later. Show! Not only did Ningyu attack Mo Ran, the old man also attacked the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse. As for Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling, they were bitterly holding on. Although their feet were not pierced by the cold light, their bodies had been fixed, and they couldn't move at all. They were in a critical situation at the moment. Unless Ningyu and the old man could quickly get rid of Mo Ran and the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse, they would definitely die. Kill! Ningyu was obviously aware of this situation. He flicked his wrist and took out the essence creating divine stick. He held the essence creating divine stick in his left hand and the Times Square pagoda in his right hand. Block it! At the moment of danger, Mo Ran took out a black flying sword from his arms and held it in front of him. Crack! Unfortunately, Mo Ran's flying sword was only a peak stage heavenly treasure. The levels of the essence creating divine stick and the Times Square pagoda were obviously much higher than the peak stage heavenly treasure. The essence creating divine stick was a peak stage mysterious treasure, so the level of the Times Square pagoda was definitely not low. How could he win when he used a peak stage heavenly treasure flying sword to fight against a peak stage mysterious treasure flying sword and a Dharma treasure that was very likely to be more powerful? The result was obvious. Mo Ran's black flying sword was broken in half on the spot. After succeeding in his attack, Ningyu did not stop. Instead, he gave chase. Hit the snake where it hurts, don't hold back. That was Ningyu's code of conduct. I'm from the Wuheng Cave. If you kill me, you won't have a good time. In a hurry, Mo Ran raised his head and shouted, trying to scare Ningyu with the Wuheng Cave. Even if I don't kill you, I won't have a good time. Ningyu didn't fall for Mo Ran's trick. Anyway, he had already clashed with Mo Ran. If he didn't kill him, should he keep him alive to get reinforcements? You'll die a horrible death. Seeing that he couldn't convince Ningyu, Mo Ran's eyes widened and he said angrily. However, before Mo Ran could finish his words, he was hit in the head by the essence creating Divine Stick and the Times Square Pagoda at the same time. In an instant, Mo Ran's head exploded and was badly mutilated. At the entrance of the path to heaven, Ningyu's cultivation was only at the peak Earth Immortal, and he didn't have many trump cards on him. Now that he had advanced to the mid-stage Heaven Immortal and activated the terrifying energy in the Times Square Pagoda, he had an absolute advantage when fighting with Mo Ran. Mo Ran only lasted for a few seconds before he was killed by Ningyu. Come out. As soon as Ningyu killed Mo Ran, the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse spat out 2 armors from its mouth. Crack! The sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse jumped and put on the 2 armors. Phantom armor. The armor that the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse took out was the Phantom armor. However, the level of the Phantom armor of the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse had reached the terrifying level of a dark treasure. As for Ningyu's Phantom armor, it was still in the storage ring, being upgraded by Hong Mo. Before making a move, Ningyu quietly probed and found that Hong Mo had just upgraded his Phantom armor to the Heavenly Treasure level. You 2 go into the storage ring first. Ningyu was not stupid enough to help the old man. He first helped Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling get out of trouble and let them enter the storage ring. Then he went to help the old man. After all, if he helped Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling a little later, they would definitely die. Swish! Swish! Zhao Rui and Immortal Hongling were also self-aware. They also knew that they would not be able to help Ningyu and the old man if they stayed. Instead, they would become a burden. Therefore, the 2 of them immediately flashed and entered the storage ring. Damn it! The sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse, who was fighting with the old man, was so angry that its nose was crooked. It had gone through a lot of trouble to come to the path to heaven and followed the aura of the Phantom armor to this place. Originally, it wanted to grab Ningyu's Phantom armor and merge the 3 Phantom armors together to instantly create a Dharma treasure at the peak of the Heavenly Treasure level. However, when it saw the Essence Creation Divine Rod and the Times Square Pagoda in Ningyu's hands, its face became extremely gloomy. Because both the Essence Creation Divine Rod and the Times Square Pagoda were far above the peak of the Heavenly Treasure level. Even if it merged the 3 Phantom armors, it would never be able to make the combined armor reach the Dark Treasure level. We don't have to fight to the death at all. The sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse rolled its eyes and instantly made a decision. Chapter 2074. Join Forces. Ningyu was slightly stunned when he heard the Mirage Mouse's words. He could not help but feel shocked. To be honest, Ningyu did not expect the Shadow Mouse to have such an attitude. After all, when the Shadow Mouse saw him, there was a murderous look in its eyes. We're facing a formidable enemy. If we fight among ourselves, Lei Qianqiang will inevitably find an opportunity. The pointy-mouthed Mirage Mouse hurriedly nodded. I admit it. The reason why my eyes were filled with killing intent when I saw you was because I wanted to snatch the Mirage armor from you. Because once the 3 Mirage armors fuse together, they'll form a new Mirage armor and a new Mirage armor. And the new Phantom armor will only be at the peak of the Heavenly Treasure level. Do you think I'm a fool? Ningyu's face darkened. He had seen clearly just now that the 2 Phantom armors on the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse's body were both mysterious treasures. Now that the Shadow Mouse said that the 3 Phantom armors would become a Heavenly Treasure level Phantom armor, how could he not be angry? No. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes revealed a trace of joy. This is a matter of life and death. How can I treat you like a fool? The Shadow Mouse said hurriedly. In order to survive, the Shadow Mouse did not want to be Ningyu's enemy at the moment. Okay, take off the 2 Phantom armors and give them to me. Then I'll agree to cooperate with you. Ningyu pretended to think for a while and then said, We have a common enemy. We really shouldn't fight to the death. No problem. The sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse gritted its teeth, then took off the two Mirage armors and threw them to Ningyu. Pa! Pa! Ningyu waved his hands and caught the two phantom armors. Ningyu was overjoyed to get the two phantom armors without any bloodshed, because he had already guessed why the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse insisted on working with him. In the eyes of the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse, the two phantom armors might not even be at the peak of the heavenly treasure level. But in his eyes, the grade of these two phantom armors were at the level of a mystic treasure. Why wouldn't he want the phantom armor that was given to him for free? Swoosh! Ningyu didn't waste any time. He directly threw the two phantom armors into his storage ring and warned Hong Mo to find a way to fuse the three phantom armors together to see if he could create a profound treasure intermediate stage phantom armor. Ningyu was very excited. He had the Origin Creation Divine Staff, the Red Demon Sword, and the Times Square Pagoda. In terms of weapons, he did not lack any. However, the only thing he lacked was a defensive armor. Now that he had two mysterious treasure-level phantom armors, there was no need to mention how happy he was. Release the energy in your body for me to use. Ningyu was not a fool. Although he was very excited, he did not show it. He looked solemn and said to the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse, I now have a 50% chance of breaking the Immortals' vanquishing fiend formation. Together with the energy in your body, it may increase the chance to 60%. Okay. The sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse nodded heavily, then gathered the energy in its body into its fist and threw it at Ningyu. I will help too. Seeing that Ningyu had convinced the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse, the old man also threw all the energy in his body to Ningyu. With the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse and the old man's energy replenishment, Ningyu now had a 70% chance of breaking the Immortals' vanquishing fiend formation. Boom! Ningyu did not waste too much time. He stepped on the ground and rushed out in an instant. Ningyu was very clear about the principle of delay, and changes might occur. No matter what, Lei Qianqiang was a Xian immortal expert at his peak. Even if he was not at his peak, he could still display the power of a half-step Xian immortal. If Lei Qianqiang could only display the power of a half-step Xian immortal, Ningyu naturally would not be afraid. After all, with his current strength, he already had the ability to fight against a half-step Xian immortal. But Lei Qianqiang controlled the Immortals' vanquishing fiend formation. Within the Immortals' vanquishing fiend formation, Lei Qianqiang was the absolute ruler. Interesting. On top of the stone pillar, Lei Qianqiang suddenly opened his eyes and a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. I originally wanted to see you two dogs fight each other. Since you two have joined forces, then I can only send you on your way in advance. Lei Qianqiang twisted his neck, then his body gradually enlarged. He grabbed the giant stone pillar with his right hand and fiercely swung it at Ningyu. Chi-chi. Although the stone pillar was huge, in Lei Qianqiang's hands, it was like a handy flying sword, and he was able to manipulate it with great vigor. Ding! In a split second, the Origin Creation Divine Staff in Ningyu's hand collided with the giant stone pillar. When the two collided, a huge shockwave almost caused the Origin Creation Divine Staff to fly out of Ningyu's hand. Even without the Immortals' vanquishing fiend formation, killing you is as easy as killing a dog. Lei Qianqiang revealed a disdainful smile. Buzz. At the same time, Lei Qianqiang's aura was constantly increasing. In a short period of time, Lei Qianqiang's strength had more than doubled again. Although Lei Qianqiang had not recovered to the level of a Xian immortal, he was not far from it. I'll break the Immortals' vanquishing fiend formation later. My priority now is to kill Lei Qianqiang. Ningyu's eyes turned as he thought of a countermeasure. Since Lei Qianqiang was so arrogant, it was a good opportunity for him. If Lei Qianqiang used the Immortals' vanquishing fiend formation from the start, he would definitely be defeated. After all, Lei Qianqiang's strength was only one step away from a true Xian immortal, and the immortal's vanquishing fiend formation was heaven-defying. Under such circumstances, Ningyu had to break the immortal's vanquishing fiend formation and deal with Lei Qianqiang at the same time. Naturally, he had no chance of winning. However, Lei Qianqiang did not use the immortal's vanquishing fiend formation and wanted to kill him with his own strength. This was somewhat arrogant. Kill! Ningyu gathered all the energy in his body, including the Netherworld Hound's corpse, the Times Square pagoda, the sharp-mouthed shadow mouse, the old man, Zhao Rui and Ning Lu's energy into his fist and chased after Lei Qianqiang, seeking her own death. Lei Qianqiang waved the stone pillar in his hand again and fiercely smashed it towards Ningyu's head. However, Ningyu clenched his right hand into a fist and suddenly punched. Kacha! This time, Ningyu was not pushed back. Instead, the stone pillar in Lei Qianqiang's hand broke in the middle. What? The sudden change caused Lei Qianqiang's expression to change greatly. Not good, Immortal's vanquishing fiend formation. Activate. At this critical moment, Lei Qianqiang's body emitted several cold rays of light, wanting to activate the Immortal's vanquishing fiend formation to kill Ningyu. However, it was too late for Lei Qianqiang to think of the Immortal's vanquishing fiend formation now. Ningyu's fist had already arrived in front of him. Under his horrified gaze, it fiercely struck his heart. Puff! The fist swept past. Lei Qianqiang's heart was pierced on the spot. You, how is this possible? Chapter 2075. Plop! As soon as the sound faded, Lei Qianqiang's body fell backwards, dead on the spot. Shua! Lei Qianqiang's death caused the rat and the elder to be stunned, their faces filled with disbelief. From the moment Ningyu attacked to the moment he killed Lei Qianqiang, it took less than a minute. To be honest, in the eyes of the elder and the rat, even if they gave Ningyu 10 minutes, Ningyu might not be able to kill Lei Qianqiang. However, the truth was beyond their expectations. Not only did Ningyu kill Lei Qianqiang, he did it in less than a minute. After killing Lei Qianqiang, Ningyu instantly felt the burden on his body lighten. After all, he was forced to the edge of a cliff. Either he killed Lei Qianqiang, or Lei Qianqiang killed him. However, even though Ningyu killed Lei Qianqiang, he didn't dare to relax too much, because he still had to face the exterminating immortal's demon formation. Even though Lei Qianqiang was dead, the exterminating immortal's demon formation still existed. Plus, without Lei Qianqiang's control, the exterminating immortal's demon formation could explode at any time. Seeing Ningyu display such powerful combat power, the rat moved, instantly arriving in front of Ningyu, and asked, "What do we do now?" It could be seen that the rat's attitude was very different from before. The rat seemed to have put down its arrogance and began to respect Ningyu as its master. Even though the rat didn't make a clear statement, Ningyu could tell. Let's rest for a few minutes first. When we recover to our peak condition, we'll think of a way to break the exterminating immortal's demon formation. Ningyu said after some thought. Ningyu was very rational. In his current condition, forget about breaking the exterminating immortal's demon formation. He might not even be able to win against a late sky immortal expert. That's the only way. The old man nodded at the side and agreed. All right. Since both Ningyu and the old man said so, the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse could only find a place to rest. Because they had given all the energy in their bodies to Ningyu, the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse and the old man were currently in a very poor state. Zhao Rui, do you have any good ideas to break the immortal's exterminating demon formation? When the elder and the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse went to rest, Ningyu did not follow them. Instead, he began to communicate with Zhao Rui, who was in the spatial ring. After all, Zhao Rui came from the Central Divine Dynasty, a higher plane. The Central Divine Dynasty was the absolute ruler of the upper-class territory, so it should have a way to break the immortal slaughtering fiend formation. There is a way, but Zhao Rui did not let Ningyu down. She gritted her teeth and said, "The price we have to pay is too great." "What price?" Ningyu asked in a deep voice. For Ningyu, he had to give it a try no matter how great the price he had to pay. This was because Ningyu knew very well. He had to break the immortals' slaughtering fiend formation before it exploded. Otherwise, they would definitely die. Find the sixth array eye of the immortals' slaughtering fiend formation and use your physical strength to resist the impact of the sixth array eye, Zhao Rui explained. The immortals' slaughtering fiend formation is powerful mainly because of its sixth array eye. All its energy is basically gathered in the sixth array eye. As long as you can resist the impact of the sixth array eye, you can buy us a minute to leave. But I have to tell you in advance that even a mysterious immortal expert would find it difficult to resist the impact of the sixth array eye. Zhao Rui told Ningyu everything she knew. As for what Ningyu would choose, she had no right to interfere. In fact, in Zhao Rui's heart, she did not want Ningyu to resist the impact of the sixth array eye. In her opinion, there was no way Ningyu could resist it. "Tell me where the sixth array eye is." Ningyu's face was expressionless as he said, "I'll buy you some time. Once you have the chance, leave immediately." Swish! As he spoke, Ningyu flicked his wrist and threw the storage ring to Zhao Rui. It could be said that Ningyu had already put everything aside. If there was anyone in this area who could resist the immortal slaughtering fiend formation, it was him. "I know you've always wanted the Dark Emperor and Ninglu to enter the Central Divine Dynasty. I hope they can live a good life in the Central Divine Dynasty," Ningyu said in a deep voice. "Also, my parents are in the storage ring. You should know what to do. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, they will never be hurt." Zhao Rui took a deep breath and said solemnly. Since Ningyu had made his choice, Zhao Rui did not say anything else. After spending so much time with Ningyu, Zhao Rui knew Ningyu very well. Once Ningyu made up his mind, it was difficult for others to change it. The sixth array eye is deep underground. Zhao Rui caught the storage ring and told Ningyu the location of the sixth array eye. Ningyu did not look for the sixth array eye immediately. He first sat cross-legged and began to recuperate. After all, he was going to face the impact of the entire immortals' slaughtering fiend formation. Ningyu had to recover to his peak state. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for him to resist for a few seconds, let alone a minute. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, 3 minutes had passed. After resting for 3 minutes, Ningyu decided to take action ahead of time. After all, he was worried that the immortals' slaughtering fiend formation would break out prematurely. Swish! However, before Ningyu could make a move, the Hong Mo came out of the storage ring. Moreover, the Hong Mo brought Ningyu a piece of good news. Since Ningyu had killed Lei Qianqiang, the Hong Mo could use Lei Qianqiang to upgrade the level of the phantom armor. After completely refining Lei Qianqiang, the Hong Mo upgraded the level of the phantom armor from the early stage Heavenly Treasure to the peak of the Heavenly Treasure. The peak of the Heavenly Treasure. Looking at the phantom armor in the Hong Mo's hand, the sharp-mouthed shadow mouse opened its mouth slightly, its face full of horror. It really could not understand why the phantom armor in Ningyu's hands could reach the peak of the Heavenly Treasure. The 2 phantom armors that it gave to Ningyu were only in the late stage Heavenly Treasure. "Ningyu, I have a way to fuse the 3 phantom armors together." After thinking about it again and again, the sharp-mouthed shadow mouse still chose to tell Ningyu the method of fusion. After all, every second that Ningyu persisted was 1 more second of survival for it. "Thank you." Ningyu glanced at the sharp-mouthed shadow mouse, then shifted his gaze to the Hong Mo and told him the method that the sharp-mouthed shadow mouse had told him. The Hong Mo understood and directly took out the remaining 2 phantom armors. My phantom armor! This time, seeing the 2 phantom armors in the Hong Mo's hands, the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse almost fainted. Mysterious treasure! The sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse clearly saw that the 2 phantom armors in the Hong Mo's hands were the phantom armors that he had just given to Ningyu. Chapter 2076. The sharp-mouthed phantom rat was so angry that its nose was crooked. However, since it had already come to this point, the sharp-mouthed phantom rat naturally wouldn't ask Ningyu for the phantom armor. Moreover, the sharp-mouthed phantom rat wasn't sure if it could get the phantom armor back. With Ningyu's current mental state, it would be too easy to kill him. Crack! Crack! After mastering the fusion method, Hong Mo waved his hands repeatedly and forcibly fused the 3 phantom armors together. As time passed, a series of cracking sounds came from the phantom armor. The 3 phantom armors were also fusing in an orderly manner. According to this situation, it would only take 3 minutes at most for the 3 phantom armors to complete the fusion. Bang! A minute passed. With a muffled sound, Ningyu's peak heavenly treasure phantom armor fused with a mysterious treasure phantom armor. Early stage mysterious treasure phantom armor. The fusion of these 2 phantom armors created a phantom armor at the peak of the early mysterious treasure realm. Fuse! The fusion of the 2 phantom armors didn't satisfy Hong Mo, because the next fusion of the 2 phantom armors was the most important. After all, it wasn't too difficult to fuse a peak stage heavenly treasure phantom armor. Once he could fuse 2 dark treasure phantom armors together, it was foreseeable that he would be able to create a middle stage dark treasure defensive armor in an instant. Bang! Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, 2 minutes passed. Another muffled sound was heard. Then a dark golden armor appeared in Hong Mo's hands. Middle stage mysterious treasure. Obviously, the dark golden armor in Hong Mo's hands was the newly formed phantom armor, and it had reached an amazing mid-stage mysterious treasure. The mid-stage mysterious treasure armor in Hong Mo's hands was a little different from the Essence Creation Divine Rod. Although the Essence Creation Divine Rod was a peak stage mysterious treasure magic treasure, Ningyu couldn't exert its peak power. And the most important thing was that the Essence Creation Divine Rod was an offensive magic treasure, while the phantom armor was a defensive magic treasure. The 2 couldn't be compared at all. Whoosh! Whoosh! After fusing the 3 phantom armors together, Hong Mo's figure flickered and turned into an afterimage as he flew toward Ningyu. Ningyu made a grabbing motion in the air. In an instant, the red demon's sword appeared in Ningyu's right hand, and he put on the phantom armor. Open! Ningyu did not waste any time. The immortal qi in his body surged and poured into the red demon's sword. The next moment, Ningyu struck with his sword. Whoosh! A huge crack appeared in the void. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the sword ray came into close contact with the ground. Rumble! In an instant, the ground split open. Ningyu wielded the red demon's sword and leaped into the fissure. Everyone get ready. When the 6th formation eye attacks, we'll leave immediately. Zhao Rui said with a solemn expression. Zhao Rui was very clear. They had to leave within a minute. That was the only way for Ningyu to have a chance of survival. Otherwise, Ningyu would definitely die. After all, the impact of the 6th formation eye was too powerful. Even a mystic immortal powerhouse would find it difficult to withstand it, let alone Ningyu. Although Ningyu was wearing a mystic treasure intermediate stage phantom armor, in Zhao Rui's opinion, this phantom armor could not buy too much time for Ningyu. 10 seconds. The mystic treasure intermediate stage phantom armor could only last Ningyu for 10 more seconds at most. Understood. The sharp-mouthed phantom mouse and the old man responded in unison. Among them, The old man glanced at Ningyu, who had burrowed into the ground with a gloomy expression. Due to the urgency of time, the old man did not have time to ask Ningyu for the time obverse pagoda. The value of the time obverse pagoda did not lie in its level, but in its ability to slow down the passage of time. Think about it, in the same amount of time in the outside world, if you cultivate for 1 year and others cultivate for 10 years, how big would the difference be? Let's think of something after we reach the higher planes. The old man took a deep breath and stopped thinking about the Times Square pagoda. Strictly speaking, the old man did not know the true secret of the Square Time Tower. The Times Square pagoda was something he obtained by chance. Back then, he had chosen Ningyu because he had taken a fancy to Ningyu's war god physique. He just wanted to store the time pagoda in Ningyu's body. As the aura of the divine battle body could conceal the aura of the Times Square pagoda, it would not be discovered by others. Rumble. As the old man was thinking, the ground suddenly began to shake. Go. Zhao Rui's expression changed. She stomped her feet on the ground and darted into the void. Obviously, the sixth formation eye of the Immortals' vanquishing demon formation had already begun its attack. From now on, there was only 1 minute left for Zhao Rui and the others. If he could leave the immortal vanquishing demon array in a minute, he would have a chance to survive. Without being able to leave the Immortals' exterminating fiend array, he could only die here. Xiao! Xiao! Behind Zhao Rui, the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse and the old man did not idle around. The two immediately moved, following Zhao Rui closely. Crack! 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 However, as soon as Zhao Rui and the others entered the void, they were blasted out by a powerful wave of void shattering. It did not mean that they could successfully leave the Immortals' vanquishing demon formation with Ning Yu blocking the attack of the sixth formation eye. If they wanted to leave the Immortals' vanquishing demon formation, they had to find a way to break the first layer of defense. And the power of the first layer of defense was not any weaker than the attack of a peak, half-step, abstruse immortal. Let me. You stay back. Fortunately, the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse and the old man were both half-step, abstruse immortals. The two flew out at the same time. Each of them used their trump cards and began to fight with their lives on the line. At the moment of life and death, there was a chance of survival if they fought with their lives on the line. If they did not fight with their lives on the line, only death awaited them. Crack! Under the joint attack of the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse and the old man, the first layer of defense in the void gradually began to crack. We should be able to break it in a minute. Zhao Rui's face turned solemn as she looked at the cracked protective shield. She could not help but look at the ground. This was because Zhao Rui knew that deep underground, Ningyu should be facing the powerful attack of the sixth formation eye. Uft! Zhao Rui's guess was right. The impact of the sixth formation eye was too strong. In just one exchange, Ningyu was blasted to the point of vomiting a mouthful of blood. Essence Creation Divine Staff. At this critical moment, Ningyu could not care less. With a flick of his wrist, he unleashed all his trump cards. Essence Creation Divine Staff, Red Demon Sword, Phantom Armor. In fact, Ningyu even took out the leftover materials from the lightning pool in case the attack was too powerful and caused unnecessary damage to his heart. The heart was the weakest part of the body. Once the heart was pierced, even Ningyu would not be able to save it. The heart was the weakest part of the human body. Once the heart was pierced, even Ningyu would be powerless. Ningyu cursed as he resisted the attack of the sixth formation eye. Ningyu cursed inwardly while resisting the impact of the sixth formation core. Ningyu cursed as he resisted the attack of the sixth formation eye. Chapter 2077. What's wrong? What did you find? Ningyu was stunned at first. Then he asked, logically speaking, there should be a blue stone deep in the sixth array eye. The Red Fiend said solemnly. The Red Fiend was the sword spirit of the Red Fiend sword and had strong senses. Ever since the Red Fiend sword advanced to the peak of heavenly treasure, the Red Fiend's senses had also improved. It was not inferior to Ningyu's and could even slightly suppress Ningyu's. In addition, Ningyu was focused on resisting the powerful impact, so he did not pay attention to what was deep in the array eye. A blue stone! Upon hearing the Red Fiend's words, Ningyu hurriedly used his senses and carefully entered the sixth array eye. Hiss! Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air when he took a closer look. The Red Fiend was right. There was indeed a blue stone deep in the sixth array eye. Almost all the energy that shot out from the sixth array eye came from the blue stone. In other words, as long as he could control the blue stone, it was equivalent to controlling the immortal's vanquishing demon formation. Could this stone be the key to the immortal's vanquishing demon formation? Ningyu frowned and vaguely guessed something. However, Zhao Rui was not here, so he could not verify it for the time being. Red Fiend. Ningyu gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, I will do my best to block the energy shockwave. You find a chance to steal the blue stone. Let me block the energy shockwave. After all, I am the sword spirit. As long as the Red Fiend sword is not completely blasted into pieces, I have a chance to survive. The Red Fiend shook his head slowly and said, You are different from me. Once you die, you will truly die and never be resurrected. Cut the crap. Ningyu glared at the Red Fiend and immediately waved the Red Fiend's sword and the origin, creating divine staff in his hands. Instead of retreating, he charged straight towards the sixth array eye. Rumble. When Ningyu attacked the sixth array eye, Zhao Rui and the rest could clearly feel the power of the protective shield weakening. What's going on? Zhao Rui and the others were puzzled. However, despite their doubts, they naturally wouldn't give up such a rare opportunity. Without much effort, the sharp-mouthed Phantom Mouse and the old man blasted open the barrier and fled at a terrifying speed. Before they left, the three of them turned back to look at the immortal's vanquishing fiend array, remembering Ningyu in their hearts. Although in their hearts, they all fantasized that Ningyu would survive, but they all knew that this was just a fantasy. Even profound immortal experts found it difficult to survive, let alone Ningyu, who was at the intermediate stage of the heavenly immortal realm. At the end of the path to heaven, there are still many old farts waiting for us. Remember not to be careless. Zhao Rui and the sharp-mouthed Mirage Mouse exchanged glances, then dove into the void and disappeared. Puff! Meanwhile, within the immortal's vanquishing demon formation, within the sixth formation eye, a terrifying energy shockwave blasted onto Ningyu's chest. The huge impact made Ningyu spit out a mouthful of red blood. Fortunately, he had the phantom armor at the intermediate stage of the profound treasure realm to resist it. Otherwise, this impact alone would be enough to seriously injure Ningyu. A little more. Ningyu gritted his teeth and continued to move with difficulty. Almost every few steps, Ningyu would be attacked by an energy shockwave. From the beginning until now, Ningyu had been attacked by a total of 18 energy shockwaves. No, it's too slow if this goes on. Ningyu rolled his eyes, secretly thinking of countermeasures. At this rate, he would be blasted into pieces before he could even get close to the blue energy stone. Therefore, he had to think of a foolproof plan. At the very least, he had to be able to get close to the blue energy stone. Times Square Pagoda. Suddenly, Ningyu thought of the Times Square Pagoda. Even now, Ningyu had not been able to figure out what level the Times Square Pagoda was. It was just that in Ningyu's heart, he vaguely felt that the level of the Times Square Pagoda was more terrifying than the origin creating divine staff. A stream of soul power gushed out of Ningyu's body and entered the Times Square Pagoda. Ningyu was not a fool. If he wanted to enter the Times Square Pagoda to hide, he first had to determine if the current Times Square Pagoda could let him in. No problem. Fortunately, Ning Yu was not disappointed, as the energy in the Times Square pagoda had been stimulated, so the current Times Square pagoda could let Ning Yu in. Swoosh! Ning Yu did not waste a minute or second. He jumped up and entered the Times Square pagoda. Ning Yu controlled the Times Square pagoda to move forward while paying attention to the changes in the blue energy stone. Rumble! It seemed, as Ning Yu continued to move forward, the blue energy stone gradually became berserk. Even if Ning Yu hid in the Times Square pagoda, he would have been blasted to pieces at this time. Ning Yu would not give up once he had decided on something. Although his forward speed was very slow and he was blasted backward by the energy shock waves several times, with the help of the Times Square pagoda, he did not suffer too much damage. The only thing that worried Ning Yu was that it would be difficult for him to leave the Times Square pagoda. Because the energy shock waves outside, with his current strength, it was difficult to resist. In other words, as soon as he went out, he might be blasted to death. Let's take a gamble. Ning Yu gritted his teeth and decided to fight to the death. He placed the leftover pieces of the Thunder Pool, the Origin creating Divine Staff, and the Red Fiend sword close to his heart. At such a close distance, as long as he could withstand an energy shockwave, he would be able to get close to the blue energy stone. At this point, Ning Yu had already given up the idea of letting the Red Fiend get the blue energy stone. After all, the Red Fiend was only the sword spirit of a peak heavenly treasure flying sword, and he could not withstand the impact of the blue energy stone. Furthermore, the Red Fiend had been his good friend for many years. How could he let the Red Fiend take the risk? Later, I will put the blue energy stone into the Times Square pagoda, and what you have to do is to maintain the stability of the Times Square pagoda for me the moment I put the energy stone into it. Ning Yu did not give the Red Fiend too much time to think, and the moment his voice fell, he flew out of the Times Square pagoda. Because the Red Fiend was the sword spirit, it was the best choice for him to control the Times Square pagoda. Seeing that Ning Yu had left the Times Square pagoda, the Red Fiend opened his mouth slightly and wanted to say something, but in the end he chose to shut up. The Red Fiend knew that it would be difficult for him to change Ning Yu's mind. Now he could only pray that Ning Yu would not encounter any danger. Swoosh! The moment he left the Times Square pagoda, Ning Yu felt an extremely terrifying energy shock wave rushing towards him. Ning Yu gritted his teeth. He knew that he had to withstand this shock wave, otherwise, all his previous efforts would be in vain. At the critical moment, Ning Yu tilted his body slightly and somersaulted in the air. The terrifying energy shock wave tracked Ning Yu's heart and circled around. Boom! With a muffled sound, the energy shock wave blasted at Ning Yu's heart. Chapter 2078. Catch it! Ning Yu's nerves tightened as he approached the blue energy stone. His body stopped abruptly. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched the blue energy stone. Swoosh! The blue energy stone was blasted away and flew straight toward the Times Square pagoda. Crack! However, Ning Yu's fist was broken by the terrifying energy of the blue energy stone. Get in! The Red Fiend had been waiting for this moment. As soon as the energy stone approached him, he opened the Times Square pagoda and stored the energy stone inside. As for himself, he flew out of the Times Square pagoda. Phew! Seeing the Red Fiend collect the blue energy stone, Ning Yu couldn't help but let out a long sigh. It seemed that he had made the right bet. After the blue energy stone was taken, the entire formation core returned to its calm state. Even the Immortals' vanquishing demon formation dissipated. Are you okay? The Red Fiend hurriedly flew to Ning Yu's side and asked with concern. I won't die yet. Ning Yu immediately sat cross-legged and began to recuperate. As his right fist had come into contact with the blue energy stone, all the bones were broken and he needed urgent treatment. In fact, the injury on his fist was secondary. What made Ningyu's heart ache was that his phantom armor, origin creating divine staff, and the red fiend sword had all suffered varying degrees of damage. Based on Ning Yu's judgment, the energy contained in the blue energy stone should have far exceeded the energy contained in the immortal's vanquishing demon formation. If he was not mistaken, the blue energy stone might have been left here by an ancient mighty figure. However, Ning Yu didn't think about these things for the time being. The immortal qi in his body surged, and he hurriedly began to recover. "It's good that you're fine." Seeing that Ning Yu was indeed fine, the red fiend was relieved. The red fiend didn't go to recuperate. He knew that his task was to protect Ning Yu while Ning Yu was recuperating. Drip, drip. Time continued to pass. From the time Ning Yu began to recuperate to the time he opened his eyes, it took a total of 3 days. During these 3 days, Hong Mo did not go anywhere. He had been standing by Ning Yu's side to protect him. Now, think about how to deal with the blue energy stones. Ning Yu stood up and said with a frown as he held the Times Square pagoda in his hand. The blue energy stones were simply too restless. Even though Ning Yu had locked it up in the Times Square pagoda, it was still rushing around in these 3 days. If it weren't for the fact that the Times Square pagoda was relatively sturdy, it would have already broken out. Is there any way to refine it? Hong Mo frowned and suggested. The energy contained within the blue energy stone was terrifying. As long as they could refine it, not only would Ning Yu and the Red Fiend's strength soar, but even the grades of the Red Fiend's sword, phantom armor, and other Dharma treasures would increase as well. However, how to refine the blue energy stones was a huge problem. I definitely can't refine a whole energy stone. If I can, oh right, the leftover materials of the lightning pool. Suddenly, Ning Yu thought of an idea. Since he couldn't refine a whole energy stone, he might as well cut the energy stones into pieces. The toughness of the leftover materials of the lightning pool was naturally needless to say. Using the leftover materials of the lightning pool to cut the energy stones was probably the best choice. Go. Ning Yu was not an indecisive person. He did what he said. He wrapped a wisp of soul force around the leftover materials of the lightning pool and controlled them to fly into the Times Square pagoda. Gotcha! The leftover materials of the lightning pool did not disappoint Ning Yu, although it was only cutting a fingernail-sized energy stone. Everything was difficult at the beginning. As long as he could cut the energy stone, it was a good start. Ning Yu couldn't control a whole energy stone. He could still control a fingernail-sized energy stone. If I refine this energy stone, I should be able to raise my cultivation to the peak of the middle stage, heavenly immortal. Ning Yu was overjoyed. He had just advanced to the middle stage, heavenly immortal not long ago. If he wanted to raise his cultivation to the peak of the middle stage, heavenly immortal, he would need to consume a lot of energy. A fingernail-sized energy stone could help him raise his cultivation. One could only imagine how terrifying the energy contained in the entire energy stone was. Again, Ning Yu was not satisfied with this. He controlled the leftover materials of the lightning pool and continued to cut the energy stones. After all, his Dharma treasures needed to be upgraded. The red demon sword was only a peak stage heavenly treasure and urgently needed to be upgraded to the mystic treasure level. The phantom armor was only a middle stage mystic treasure and urgently needed to be upgraded to the late stage mystic treasure, or even the peak stage mystic treasure. As for the essence creation divine rod, Ning Yu wanted it to be able to unleash its power at its peak. Even though the essence creation divine rod was given to him by immortal essence creation, and immortal essence creation was very likely to have ulterior motives, Ning Yu always felt that as long as he improved his strength, all conspiracies and plots would be meaningless. Ning Yu did not need to worry about raising the level of the red demon sword and the phantom armor. That was because as the level of the red demon sword increased, the red demon's mind also gained a lot of refining knowledge. It was no exaggeration. At this moment, even the weapon refinement masters of the higher planes did not know as much as the red demon. Crack, crack, crack. In the next few days, Ningyu continuously cut the energy stones, while the red demon used the energy in the energy stones to raise the level of the red demon sword and the phantom armor. Time flew by. On the 5th day, boom! With a muffled sound, the red demon's sword advanced further from the peak of the heavenly treasure level to the mystic treasure level. The red demon's cultivation also advanced from the peak of the heaven immortal level to the mystic immortal level. However, the mystic immortal tribulation of the red demon made Ningyu suffer a lot. Since Ningyu did not notice, he went through the mystic immortal tribulation together with the red demon. Fortunately, the red demon was a sword spirit, and a large part of his mystic immortal tribulation was blocked by the red demon sword. Otherwise, Ningyu would have been in trouble this time. Of course, this was just a small episode. After his cultivation was raised to the mystic immortal level, the knowledge of refining also increased in the red demon's mind. In the following period of time, the red demon displayed his skilled refining techniques. 10 days passed. The red demon used 10 days to raise the level of the phantom armor from the mid-stage of the mystic treasure to the late stage of the mystic treasure. Moreover, it was only 1 step away from reaching the peak of the mystic treasure level. Ningyu did not let the red demon help him with the origin creating divine rod. During the 15 days, he constantly injected energy into the origin creating divine rod to help the origin creating divine rod disintegrate the seal inside. It was no exaggeration to say that the energy Ningyu injected into the origin creating divine rod was no less than the red demon's consumption. Hard work pays off. Not only did Ningyu increase the power of the origin creating divine rod from about 50% to 100%, but he also discovered a small secret in the origin creating divine rod. Immortal creation had indeed left something inside the essence creation, divine staff, mystic immortal law. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.